a bigger picture to be found, a wider viewpoint. There's more than one side to every story, and you'll find so much more with ABC News Online. Around the world and from wherever you are. Get a bigger picture of the stories that matter to you with explainers, live blogs and analysis. Your news, your way, every day from Australia's most trusted news source. Download the ABC News app or head to ABC News Online.
ABC Sport, your home of rugby.
ABC News, good evening. I'm Melissa Polomini. Police believe a shooting at a home in Bayside, Melbourne could have been a case of mistaken identity. A 76-year-old man is in hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. He was shot in the leg after answering a knock at the front door of his Middle Park home last night. Police say the gunman was wearing a white hazmat suit and ran off towards Albert Park Lake. Detective Acting Inspector Chris Elway says police believe there was a brief exchange between the two men before the shooting.
Very concerning that someone will do this at that time of day in that area, and given that it is that time of day, I think that there would have been other people around, so very, very brazen. Obviously wearing a full suit of some sort, hazmat suit or painter's suit, to me indicates that there's some degree of planning involved as well.
A man has been charged, accused of a hit and run in Melbourne's northwest. Last week, a 13-year-old boy was taken to hospital with serious injuries after he was struck by a car. Today, a 60-year-old man was charged with offences, including driving in a dangerous manner and failing to report to police. He will face court again in March. A young mother will be able to take her 1-month-old baby to prison after she was sentenced over a fatal car crash last year. Christian Silver reports.
Alicia Fagan had been drinking, was unlicensed and was speeding when her car smashed into another vehicle in Sunshine last year. It claimed the life of 69-year-old Sadat Hassan, a much-loved grandfather. Today, a county court judge said he would show mercy to Fagan, who is 22 years old and gave birth last month. Judge Scott John jailed her for 2.5 years, but a non-parole period means she could be released in less than 6 months. The court heard Fagan was remorseful and had attended rehab programs. The judge allowed the Indigenous woman to keep her baby in custody, saying he didn't want to separate her from the newborn.
Police say 4 people arrested over a series of arson attacks on Melbourne tobacco stores were puppets of an organised crime syndicate. Bridget MacArthur has the details.
Officers say Middle Eastern organised crime syndicates that sit behind Melbourne's illegal tobacco trade have been using arson to extort and punish the owners of stores who won't buy from them or encroach on their territory. Police believe the 4 people arrested probably didn't know the reasons for what they were doing and were acting on directions of people higher up. They're asking affected store owners to come forward with information, though say they recognise many may be scared of retribution. The Finks Outlaw Motorcycle Club is also believed to be involved.
Parents from an inner Melbourne Catholic primary school say they feel devastated and shortchanged as the school faces closure. 4 primary schools in Blackrock, Greythorn, Chadstone and Clifton Hill will be closed by Melbourne Archdiocese Catholic Schools by the end of this year after they were deemed unsustainable. President of St John's Clifton Hill Parents and Friends Group, Vicky Young, says the community is devastated and wants an explanation.
We're simply heartbroken. We're also furious because we feel there's been a significant miscarriage of justice in the process.
The Defence Minister says the presence of hundreds of Chinese satellites over Australia is a reminder of the need for investment in military space capability. Commercial data obtained by the ABC reveals Beijing has deployed more than 300 geostationary and low-orbit satellites over Australia during recent joint training exercises. Defence Minister Richard Marles insists the government isn't ignoring the importance of space.
So what I take from that is it's really important that we have our own space capabilities, and that's why we're working on those. And it's just another example of why we need to be enhancing our defence capability, which we are doing in the response that we've made to the Defence Strategic Review.
Now to sport. Collingwood is without three key players for tonight's top-of-the-table clash with Brisbane at Docklands. Captain and key defender Darcy Moore is out with a hamstring injury, while midfielder Jordan De Goey and forward Bobby Hill are also out injured. Veterans still side bottom and Jacob Ryan have been brought in. Brisbane will be without forward Jack Gunston through injury, and Jackson Pryor has been omitted. To the weather, there's a gale warning for the East Gippsland coast and a strong wind warning for the West Coast, Central Coast and the Central Gippsland coast. For the state tomorrow, mostly cloudy, isolated showers mainly on and south of the ranges. For Melbourne, a shower or two tomorrow, a top of 16. Sunday, cloudy, 17. Monday, a shower or two, 18. Tuesday, showers, 16. It's currently 10 degrees. ABC News.
Since time began, humans have asked the big questions.
Does feeling cold make you more likely to catch a cold?
Is my phone secretly listening to me?
Should you keep the tomato sauce in the fridge?
Any question you ask, these humans will find you the facts.
What came first, the chicken or the egg?
Whatever it takes. What the FAQ? Starts Wednesday, August 30 on ABC TV and streaming on ABC iView.
ABC Sport.
We begin this broadcast by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which this match will be played today and pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. We extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples listening.
AFL.
What a stage. This game is coming to life.
The 2023 AFL Premiership season.
The roar will tell you the story. Fans are on their feet.
This game is electric.
Holds his arms out wide and tells them to get excited. Oh, the home fans like that. What a game. It's got everything. On the run. It's happening again. It's a whole new game.
Cause here it comes, here it comes.
One bounce at 60, one bounce at 40, one bounce at 20, and he goes.
He plays on from 52 out. The package bangs it through.
Something big is coming, something big is coming.
On the left foot is welcome to the big time moment.
Something big is coming, something big is coming.
Turn steady, go.
The 2023 AFL Premiership season.
Durham to win it. Goal.
Fill your lungs, are you ready for it?
Gets onto it, and away it goes.
Tapped it twice with his left hand, gathered in the right forward pocket. That is brilliant.
Here they come.
That's class. Oh, he's a star. What a game. Brilliant.
He goes.
This kid is going places.
Hand pass to Sarong. Sarong pulls the trigger. Boom. Rioli with some magic. The check side finish. He seizes the moment. Curls it around. What about that?
Hand pass to Elliott. Back to Hill. Superb finish.
55 out. He's given this 20. That's a magnificent strike of the football.
He dribbles it along the ground for an incredible goal.
Grimes goes long. High altitude fly from Showbolt. Snap from 35 and boy does he love it.
Right by Humphrey. Here's Humphrey to put the Suns 8 points clear.
To take the lead. It never looked like missing.
Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio, Sport Digital, and now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app. Just look for the AFL button.
Something big is coming, I know.
Home and away fixtures do not get bigger than this. It's first versus second in the penultimate round of the season, a potential premiership prelude on a Friday night. Collingwood, who have looked every bit the best team all year, have the staggers up. The collywobbles even as we approach the finals. This iteration of Brisbane will never have a clearer path to the last Saturday in September. Win tonight and almost certainly 2 home finals await. In its simplest terms, tonight, if Collingwood win, we'll likely get a rematch of this fixture in week 1 of the finals. If Brisbane win tonight, there's every chance we'll see it again at the MCG with the Premiership Cup in the building. Welcome beneath the roof of Docklands and inside the Grandstand AFL commentary box. Like the Pies, we have a late change. We've had injury and illness and all sorts. Corbin Middlemass is out. He's feeling a little under the weather, so we're sending Corby a cheerio and hopefully he gets well soon. Ben Cameron, myself in for Corby tonight. The team news for the teams No late changes, but all 4 emergencies warmed up for the Pies, and Mason Cox is the sub. So forget the Collingwood 6-footer. This is the Collingwood 7-footer as the sub tonight. Jared Lyons for Brisbane. The rest of the usual gang is here. Kelly Underwood is along for the ride. Mick Malthouse, who celebrated a birthday yesterday. Cameron Ling. No time to waste with the introductions, though, Kel, or the niceties. Great to see you.
Yeah, good to see you as well, Ben. And it's good to have you alongside us for a Friday night. Late change in the ABC Grandstand commentary box. Late change for Charlie Cameron out there. Came out to warm up in the orange boots, and he's called 2 shoe boxes over. Took 2 officials to carry 2 shoe boxes over. He took the hot pink off. He went for the orange. A little bit of a run. Came back. Kicked the orange ones off, and he's going for a blue and white look tonight. So that's just something to note down for us commentators. Blue and white means Charlie Cameron this evening. Corby's going to be sad to miss this right off the top, because I look out over Docklands, I can see the sprinkle of the black and white fans and the maroon, blue and gold of the Brisbane Lions warming up. Takes you back 20 years ago to those 2002, 2003 grand finals, and who can forget that iconic image of Paul Licuria just shedding tears alongside the master coach at the time in Mick Malthouse.
That was last night.
That was last night, because you caught up with Paul Licuria last night for one reason, and that is to celebrate your 70th birthday, Michael Malthouse. So thank you very much, Tim Hodges.
Oh, look at this.
I'm not sure if he's baked this cake, but off the top we want to present you with a chocolate cake that reads "Happy Birthday, Mick," with the big gold 70. Now, we were going to light the candles, Mick, but our tech up the back, Stu, was a little bit worried it might send the fire alarms off in the commentary boxes.
I've been warned about that.
And you've sent plenty of fire alarms off in your time, in your footy.
Thanks,
but
Kel.
Congratulations, Mick.
Happy birthday, Mick. Before you say anything, you've achieved a lot throughout your 70 years. Is the greatest achievement you've ever had surviving a long lunch with the likes of Swan and Shaw
Johnson,
and Didak and
Thomas.
Johnson, all of that crew?
They looked after me beautifully, and at dinner, a lunch drifted into dinner, and but the meal was beautiful down at Romana's, and Paul DiMartino looked after us very, very well.
I nearly fell out of the bed when I checked my social media this morning, and up popped on Instagram the Rat Pack. And Daisy Thomas said, father turned 70 or dad turned 70. There's a photo of you with the Rat Pack. And good to see you took a couple of good security guards along with you in Maxwell and Licuria, who probably kept them in line.
I think Paul's...
Paul, is he an honorary member of the Rat Pack?
No, I don't think he wants to be an honorary member. We'll call him an organiser, but yes, Nick Maxwell, you need a good captain to put him in position. It was a wonderful day. Now, don't forget, Stu's birthday too.
Yes, and happy birthday to Stu behind us as well, our technician extraordinaire.
No, look, thank you so very much. Timmy, I didn't know that you had it in you, because you're always whinging about me on the bench. And it was you, Kel.
No, it's actually, I'm not going to, it's actually a cake shop where you go and buy a cake.
Thanks, Timmy.
Go and buy a cake. But can I tell you a quick story? It made front page of the Adelaide Advertiser going back about 10, 20 years ago, this cake shop, because they had 2 chocolate cakes left in the fridge late on a Saturday night, and the grandma came in to pick up the cake for the granddaughter's first birthday. And she took the cake, and they went home and they celebrated, and grandma went to bed that night and felt like she was going to the moon. And a few other people came down feeling a little odd, and luckily the 1-year-old granddaughter didn't have any. It turns out that the 2 cakes left were swapped, and one of the bakers had made it for a Saturday night inside with the friends. A special chocolate cake. So
a little extra herb.
Extra leaves.
So I'm hoping the chocolate cake that we're going to demolish at quarter time doesn't have that effect on us tonight.
It was organised by our fearless leader, who's not here tonight, called Middlemass.
Well, thank you, Corby, and I know you'll be listening. And the thing is, when Corby texted me to say, I want to hear some of those stories about from last night. So, yes, you're always a better footballer when you retire. And I'm a far better coach when I retire, I can assure you. I don't know if they'll lost the game. How's that?
I always say you don't realise how easy the game is until you get into a commentary box. But how did you go yesterday? What time did you get home last night?
I don't think we need to go there. I just think we need to say we had a very good time. I drank some very, very fine red wine. Great company.
It started at lunchtime, and we can say it finished after dark. We'll just leave it there.
That's it. I'm here.
Don't you know one of the
and I walked here.
The first rules is you don't give up any secrets.
Oh,
what happened on these
things? No, we're in good form. All the players They never made a mistake. I can't believe we rang Cummo, Scotty Cummings, because he's in Western Australia, of course, and they love to get into Cummo. And Cummo apparently, I can't remember this game. I'm sure he would have been dropped next week, but he had one possession, and he said, "You said my job is to take Fletcher out of the play as far and as wide as I can get him." And the boys said, "But you didn't touch it." He said, "No, I had one hand pass." And the word was he tried a hand pass and missed it. But I said, "Did we win?" And he said, "Yes, we won." I said, "It doesn't matter how you played, Scotty. If we've won, you've done your job." So those stories got wilder and wilder. And, of course, every one of them deserved more Brownlows and more best and fairest and never played a bad game in their life. And
it's a special bond. I mean, it means a lot to you, obviously.
But
on the day that you turn 70, the people that you spend your time with. I mean, I know you went out for lunch with Nanette today.
Yes, at the French.
But you've gone out with some of your star players from years ago.
Yeah, and the thing was, this gives you. I got a phone call from. I'll tell you who it was. It was from Benny Johnson saying, "What are you doing?" Blah blah blah. Anyway, I said to Nanette, I said, "Oh look. I don't like parties and things, but look, they're the boys. They love the, we get on very well." Anyway, I found out yesterday, this had been planned about a month and a half ago, and Benny slipped up. He wasn't supposed to tell me. I don't know how I'm supposed to arrive there without knowing anyway. But look, I've got to say, I know this is a cheap word, sometimes you can throw it around a bit, but I do love those blokes because they're just so genuine. And the thing is about it, they're all good business people. They've got families, lovely wives and kids. They support. It's like you. They support their kids on the. They get young kids coming through now. They love to coach them, see how they go with their football, basketball, netball, and cricket and everything else. We had some really good times. I still get the word that they're still a little bit scared. They're quite prepared to love me to death, but they know that I was the coach. And they don't like hearing stories about the West Coast boys. So there's a jealousy there as well. I picked that one up. I know that one.
We've got a lot to get through today. We want to speak about Port Adelaide's succession plan because a man who's jammed one of those into his 70 years plus one day so far. So we'll talk a little bit about that and do a hardcore game preview. But before then, just a quick thought on Mason Cox as the sub. Seems like a really strange situation. So as I mentioned, all 4 emergencies warmed up for Collingwood, and then they've announced that the 7-footer will put on. We don't have the subs vest anymore, but we'll start as the sub. What do you make of it, Lingy?
Not a lot of versatility there, is there? It's
no.
It needs to be a very specific person who probably comes off. Are we maybe thinking there could be a late change? Someone's in doubt and Cox goes in and there's going to be another sub? I don't know. I've always thought that you're better off having a player who, regardless of where the person who ends up coming off the ground comes from, you can at least mix and match that player into either that part of the ground, somewhere else, and move someone. A little bit of a surprise. But Collingwood are a little thin at the moment when you think of their key players that are out. Mind you, it didn't hurt them last week. They played sensational football.
Yeah, though, but you know as well as you just got to cope. When you've got a top side, you're not there through accident, and you're generally there because you've had enough players through the year. They've had injuries through the year. Yeah. They've had Cameron down and they've rucked McStay. When he did his finger, they've ended up rucking Johnson and Cox. They can't settle on those two. That's for sure. They've had injuries with midfielders from time to time and halfbacks go from. So they're randomly covering, and good sides are blessed with a good long list. And it's a matter of getting in and still having the same function. I'm looking at the TV now and watching Howe. Now, Howe could go back, forward or indifferent. He's the sort of player that you can play him on the wing and get him behind the ball and he'll mark everything that goes near him. So
it's funny you bring him up. That's the player, isn't it? So if a small got subbed off, and say it was a defender, well, they come off for Mason Cox. Cox just goes forward and Howe goes back.
That's it.
So it works anyway. If Howe doesn't start back, we don't know if he will or won't. But he provides flexibility, whereas Cox probably doesn't. But Howe will make the sub thing work.
I'll throw this in. I'm going to look at Cameron and say, a couple of weeks ago he was a bit sore. So I'm wondering whether they are now thinking that we've probably got top. They're going to finish 1 or 2, so it's an MCG final.
Yeah. Just to clarify, Darcy Cameron, not Charlie.
Yes.
Talking about Collingwood here in the Collingwood
So you're
pitch.
talking they might rest him.
I'm not saying they might rest him, but if he's a bit sore, I don't know whether they really want McStay in the ruck. I think they want McStay to stabilise that forward line. So therefore, Cox comes on the ground and rucks if he comes on, and that's if they. So you have a look at the forward line that the Lions have got. It's not small. It may well need 3 talls. Are they going to trust a young player coming in for his first game to be on one of those players? You know, Danaher can liven that things up. Hipwood's tall. You've got McInerney if he goes in the forward pocket, blah, 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 all this sort of stuff. So I think there's a lot of... To me, it's not just a random, Cox is there. I reckon they've thought this one right through to the point where we're thinking 2 weeks in advance here, or 3 weeks in advance. We're looking at, we're going to protect our ruckman. We only got the one ruckman, basically, because Cox is not a great ruckman, but Cameron is. So let's think about saving him for the finals as well.
Yeah, so just repeating the team news, no late changes for either Collingwood or Brisbane, but Mason Cox, the sub for Collingwood, Jared Lyons for the Brisbane Lions. The big news during the week was the August timeline, which Port Adelaide told us about heading into the season. They held to that timeline, and during the week it was announced that Ken Hinkley has signed a 2-year contract extension to remain at Port Adelaide. There were murmurings around a Kirribilli agreement, a handover to Josh Carr. Port Adelaide have been at pains to suggest that there's no official handover that will take place, but it's widely accepted that Josh Carr will be the next coach of Port Adelaide.
Can I ask, says who?
I think internally. I think the understanding is that I know Josh a little bit. He didn't go back to Adelaide not to be the next coach of Port Adelaide and then pulling out of the Richmond gig. And even Ken Hinkley has said he will be a senior coach at some stage. I hope and expect that it's at Port Adelaide.
But a lot can change in 2 years. There can be a better person come along. Ken Hinkley could be at the absolute top of his game, coaching great football, and you think of where that Port Adelaide list is, I feel like it's only on an upwards trajectory, especially...
I think that's the smartness of Ken's deal. I think it's quite clever. It gives him 3 chances with this list, and if he wins a flag in amongst that, it's, why are you shipping me out? I've won a premiership.
Happens.
What's your experiences, Mick?
Oh, it just happens. It can happen. I'm with you. I think that... I'd be very surprised that they've put down and said, you will be coached in 3 years. I just think that they're going to view every year. By giving him 2 years, it'd be a horrible thing to see him not serve now the 2 years. So let's say they fold up next year. You know, they really tumble. You've got to, once you commit yourself over 2 years for a bloke that's been there for how long has he been there? 10 years or something like that?
Yeah.
And you've got to see it through. But Lingy's right, I reckon they're on the up. There's a couple of senior players that'll have to, they'll go because of their age and they're probably they're injury prone at this stage of their career. But they'll keep adding. It's a simple, like they got Alira who made a massive difference to the back line. You could just see Mackay going over there perhaps as a key back. Do
they get Brodie Grundy for Scott Lycett?
Do they get Grundy? Well, I reckon that's odds on.
Yeah. So go with a pretty good generational midfielder, 22-year-olds with Jason Horne-Francis, Rosie and Butters.
Fantastic.
I mean, that is a drama.
But let's get back to what Lingy said. I don't see how you can go, no, you are definitely taking over, because once you start making those comments, you know what ends up happening? I think there's a bit of an undermining effect there. It's a little bit of it starts to peel off like an onion, and you start to think, well, you know, where
are you speaking from experience?
I've got to speak through experience, because one of the things that I really noticed most of all was staff around me they were fantastic, but they had already accepted that a new coach was coming in a year later. And they were talking about recruits for 2 years later, and I'm thinking, hang on, we've still got next year. And it was sort of like, well, yeah, we have, but we've also got a new coach, and we've got another draft in 2 years, which we want to be ready for. But so those little things it's not an undermining, but what it is, it's a distraction, and it takes your eye off the immediate. See, every club who's near the 8 or in the 8 should have nothing else in their mind but right now winning every game they can to get in, because you don't know what's going to happen inside the 8. Well, sides win from outside the top 4 premierships. So the last thing you need is a distraction to say, but hang on, he's going to be the coach that they've inked it in. Really, it's dangerous.
Might be a difference between a bit of a verbal agreement. They've got a good relationship, and sure, it could end up like this. But to actually, ink a deal, have the contract, it's been an unmitigated disaster several times. Yeah. The last few clubs that have tried it. Think of Hawthorn with Clarkson and Mitchell. Think of Mick and Nathan Buckley. I mean, the only time it's really worked was at the Swans, when it was very well much done behind closed doors. Two good mates.
And the only other one which I don't even put in the same category was the Ruse Goodwin, which was more Rusey just agreed to coach for 2 years or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And
then he wanted out.
And it was obvious, and somebody else will do it. I'll groom that person for 2 years. That's different to somebody who's already the established senior coach.
Absolutely.
And then, hey, we'll sign you to 2 more years, but then it's going to be handed over to this person. So much can change in 2 years.
Yeah.
I mean, Mick, I don't know how much you want to talk about it, but your last 2 years as a premiership and a grand final, you think, well, why? Why do I have to hand over at that point in time? That could be Ken Hinkley. With that list and that midfield, do they win it this year? Maybe. Next 2 years, huge chance of winning it.
Yeah.
If it's a premiership and a grand final in 2 of those years, why should he have to hand it over to somebody else?
Or even a premiership or even a top 4 or even a top 8, because sometimes particularly in a small environment like, say, Port Adelaide and West Coast for that matter, when I was down there, that you get an overwhelming thing of, there's so much happening. Like Melbourne, it's widespread, and probably Geelong to a certain. That's why I take my hat off the sides that can win the double, particularly when they're not in Melbourne, because the pressure is just unbelievable. And I think Luke Beveridge said his board was still celebrating in February. The club has to get rid of at some stage that, and I have no doubt that the Bulldogs were gone, shot to bits when I heard that until the next year. So even if a premiership happens and nothing happens the following year, don't just dismiss it and say, oh, he's lost his touch.
Interesting you mentioned about list management and trying to win at that point in time, Mick, for any team that's around the 8, because I was watching On the Couch on Monday night, and Nathan Buckley, speaking about the succession plan, said it certainly lit a fuse under the club those 2 years. It gave us a hurry up to win a flag. My advice to Josh Carr would be to sit in on the list management meetings to look beyond Ken Hinkley's time. What's your response to that?
No, look, to even suggest that we tried harder, because I was in my last couple of years, it's quite difficult to take, because I coached to win for my team every week that we went on the ground. I didn't need a new contract. In fact, I've got a funny feeling that a lot of my contracts after the initial one were 1 and 2 year things, probably 1 year things, just to get them out the way. I didn't want it. I just wanted to coach. I didn't want things wrapped around my neck saying, oh, you only got this, you only got that. So no, we didn't overly try 1 year and not try the next. It was just that you I remember Jeff Walsh saying, we're not far off this. And that gave me a little bit more, because he'd been around premierships and I'd been around premierships, but sometimes you need just on the outside going, no, hang on, if we hang in here long enough, we can knock this over. And we're only a year off what he said, and we won the 2010 one.
Can I ask you about what's happening over on the West? You've still got your finger on the pulse over there. If you're Adam Simpson, he's a premiership coach of the Eagles, you're a premiership coach of the Eagles, do you want an answer before their final game of the season next weekend?
Well, he's saying, I want to coach. He's saying, I want to coach. I've got 2 years to go, 2024 and 2025.
Surely they'll come down, they'll sit down at the table.
The media over there are really jumping on this to say, enough's enough. So last week wasn't a great week. I've got to say this. When you're playing Fremantle and you get beaten by 100 points, I don't say, look, any loss is a bad loss if it's 100 points, but the Fremantle one is going to probably spark up a few things.
So if it is the end, if they decide it's the end, more specific question, do they wait till after the season, he doesn't get a farewell? It's going to be an emotional one next weekend, obviously, with Nick Nat and Shuey and all the others. Or do you urge the board, if you know he's not your man, you're rich, you're prepared to pay the money, tell him this week?
It's a good question, Kel. Look, what I do, 4 clubs. I never had any fanfare after my last game in any of those clubs. It really is not something that you go, gee, I miss it. Because, no, you're either, I got knocked out in finals in 2. The other one was, it just happened and Carlton was sacked. So, you don't always get, not that I wanted it, but I don't think that's going to be Adam Simpson's thing. I need a last game to wave goodbye. People, that's that's more the romance of probably outside the football club. I would be, whatever way they do it, if Trevor Nisbet's in charge, they'll do it properly.
Okay,
They'll do it properly. If in fact that is what's going to happen.
The last one, if take the money situation out of it, does he deserve to coach next year? Or do you think it should be a changeover at this point in time?
You've got 15 seconds, Mick.
Oh, look, it's all too hard for me, this one. Because I'm not right. Yes, Trevor's one of my best mates. We do not discuss that stuff.
Fair call.
Yep. One of the incredible stats around West Coast, in their last 32 games, they've lost 7 of them by 100-plus points. Collingwood, in their history, since the late 19th century, 2,300 games, have only lost 7 by 100 points. So they've lost as many in 32 as Collingwood have in their existence by over 100 points. It's an incredible stat. More to come here on Grandstand AFL next.
Hello, I'm Patrick Stack, and if you like great stories and you enjoy sport, then I reckon you need ABC Sport Daily in your life.
She joked that when you get married, people always ask you, oh, when are you going to have kids? And if you show up at this competition, then people always ask you if you're going to be at the Olympics.
The vibe, the atmosphere, the excitement, the level of noise.
And I think that's where the attention started to simmer.
It's a daily sports conversation, and it's called ABC Sport Daily. Find us on the ABC Listen app.
ABC Sport.
This is ABC Sports coverage of the 2023 AFL Premiership season.
Footy's biggest weekly stage, Friday night footy.
He launches an absolute rocket under the bright lights of Friday night footy.
'Cause here it comes, here it comes.
On ABC Radio, ABC Sport Digital, and now streaming on the ABC Listen app. Look for the AFL button.
Something big is coming, I know.
It's a Friday night top-of-the-table clash, first versus second in the penultimate round of the season. Collingwood, who are hated, adored, but never ignored in this competition, with a chance to clinch the McClellan Trophy, the minor premiership. And for Brisbane, they're eyeing a top 2 finish and direct passage through to the grand final. Win tonight, and they can avoid returning to Melbourne until it's for the whole goddamn shooting match on the last Saturday of September. Welcome to those of you in WA, SA and NT, Plus News Radio in New South Wales and ACT and Queensland as well. The team news, no late changes for either side. Mason Cox is the sub for Collingwood. For Brisbane, Jared Lyons. Kelly Underwood and Ben Cameron to call all of the action. Mick Malthouse, our coaching games record holder, is with us. Cameron Ling, our premiership captain, along for the ride as well. Tim Hodges downstairs for all of the news from on the benches. It is a massive night for Brisbane. It feels like the opportunity is right at their feet. Win tonight, they can stay home in Queensland in the Sunshine State, and they rarely lose there and win through to the grand final in straight sets, Lingy.
Yeah, it's a good call, Benny. That's why, just when you look at who Collingwood's missing and the fact that they don't have quite as much to play for, I know there's a mathematical formula out there somewhere that says they might be able to miss top 2, but let's just assume that they're going to finish top 2. So they get the MCG finals in that first week. No matter what happens, Brisbane, it is huge for them tonight, Nick. If they can win this one, and they have built a team that is, I believe, better than last year, and then they can finish in second position on the ladder and get that Gabba final. And it doesn't guarantee, Benny, I do have to jump in and say it doesn't guarantee a direct path, but with some certainty you say they win that first final in Brisbane and then get the prelim in Brisbane as well. There is so much tonight, Mick, makes me feel like they will be more up for this, almost like a mini final themselves. Plus, personnel-wise, Collingwood are down some key players.
Lingy, I've got a question. I don't really question you because I think you get it right. But I'm going to ask this. You said you feel they're a better side. Do you think that in what way do you reckon they're a better side than last year?
Yeah, so good question. I think Josh Dunkley, who hasn't fired that much in the last couple of weeks, but Josh Dunkley makes them a slightly less dependent on Lachie Neale. The Will Ashcroft injury was huge. I think while Will Ashcroft and Dunkley added to that midfield, they were much better than last year.
Yep.
Take Ashcroft
I agree with
out.
that. He's out though now.
Hurts a bit. That forward line, you know what I feel? I feel a little more trust in that forward line. Not total trust, I'm not. Don't worry. I reckon you nearly got whiplash there, swinging round to me. But I just, between Joe Danaher being able to push into the ruck and have some influence up the ground a little bit, and then get himself into games, Hipwood and Charlie Cameron and Rayner and these types of players.
Your Max could ruck better than Joe Danaher.
Yeah, he almost becomes a ruck rover.
Just for those that don't know,
Max is 10 years old.
That's right.
But he almost becomes a ruck rover, Joe, when he's up there. But I feel 5% better about that forward line than I did last year.
Do you reckon they get enough out of Rayner?
No. And that's probably because my expectations on Rayner are almost sky high.
Yeah.
Because I think I keep waiting for him to be De Goey or a Dustin Martin light.
Yep.
Something like that where I'm like, come on, Cam, you can start destroying games. You're that powerful. You're that good when you're around the ball. You've got the goal sense. Start taking these games apart a little bit. Not. I don't need to hold him to Dustin Martin peak level.
Now, and I'll throw another one in at you. McCluggage, has he got better? And why does he not finish his game off?
Well, interesting, he's jumped up a lot. So since Will Ashcroft went out of the side, before Will was injured, he was ranked number 11 at Brisbane. He's gone into the centre bounce down more since Ashcroft has gone out, and he's been their number 2 ranked player since then.
Yeah, but you heard what I said about finish. He's got to kick goals.
Yeah.
You cannot have 5 shots on goal and come away looking at it and go, I haven't scored a goal yet.
So, Mick, that's a great
question. Had 28 and 2 last week.
That's the only knock on his still young career, Hugh McCluggage, 151 games tonight. He is 25 years of age. I think, and I sit in on this panel, I hope I'm not giving too much away, he would certainly have an All-Australian blazer next to his name if he finished his work.
Yeah, that's what
in a couple of those seasons where he was a very, very good wingman, and if he'd kicked straighter, he would have been an elite, outstanding wingman and elevates. So, yeah, I agree with what you're saying. He's only kicked the 9 goals from 20 games this season. I'd love
the number
to
of see
shots
he's had.
Yeah,
so the other thing, Lingy, I'm going to stand on this one here. When we know when Collingwood take off, it's from their back line and they just run through their... If Brisbane have got any substance on this ground without any influence of rain or wind or anything like that, if they can't stop Collingwood, and this is where I'm talking about Rayner and Cameron and Bailey, these sort of players, defensively... And it goes without saying Joe Danaher and Hipwood.
Yep.
And not allowing that run from 40 metres out and Collingwood end up having a kick from 40 metres down the other end, because that's where they destroy time. And even last week, when they absolutely bait Geelong, it was that 15, 20 minutes straight through the corridor. Geelong didn't stop them. Collingwood built up a 5 or 6 goal lead. Much better side than 8 point better than
it was funny. I was trying to describe last week's game to people, and it was like, remember the old rubber band cars you made in primary school?
Yeah.
That was Collingwood. Like, they'd just slowly wind it back and then get to half back, and they'd release and explode.
Yeah.
And it was so impressive to watch. I agree with everything you're saying. If you gave me, who am I going to tip out of Collingwood and Brisbane, with more De Goey Dacos playing on the MCG, I'm tipping Collingwood every day of the week. I don't think Brisbane's improved that much. But tonight, players missing, what Brisbane's got to play for, and that bit of improvement, I think they can win one tonight against a team, ultimately, that I will rate higher than them when we hit September.
Yeah, the Brisbane Lions have burst out onto the ground. Their French national anthem theme blaring out around Docklands.
Well, that worked last week.
Yeah, they're wearing their Fitzroy-style jumper. Interesting, Collingwood's theme this week from Craig McRae is the Matildas. He showed them Mackenzie Arnold making the saves, and her ability, she made the save but came off her line, so had to be retaken and saved it again. Her ability to park that and go again.
Didn't show last night's game, or the night before's game.
Didn't show Wednesday night's game.
Oh, defensively.
Defensively.
Defensively. They were
That's a low
horrible.
blow.
No. The Matildas are outstanding.
What do you think of Kerr's goal, Mick?
Great defensive.
Oh, that is one of the greatest goals in history. One of the... I don't care if it was Lionel having that shot. She put that through with two players virtually making sure she couldn't. Oh, that was... And well, I'd say no more. No, I just thought defensively, the 3 goals, the two latter goals, the girls would like to have that all over again.
Sloppy defence, you're right.
We were two plus a keeper. Hello. But anyway, no, the girls were outstanding, make no mistake.
So here come the Pies running up the race, and guess who's leading them out tonight? Because there's no Darcy Moore. The acting captain is Braden Maynard. Wouldn't you love a microphone in the huddle beforehand? Although maybe we might not be able to hear much of it, Mick and Lingy. It might be beeped out a little bit. But an interesting decision as he's about to burst through the banner for the very first time alongside Josh Dacos, who was best for the Pies last week. Here goes the theme song. They're waiting for everyone to gather. Mychek's putting his hand up and just saying, wait, slow down. And the last one that's going to come up is Hoskin Elliott.
Game number 200. Got his kid there.
Yep, got a little toddler wrapped around his arms and nestled into his shoulder, and they've burst out through the banners. What do you think of Braden Maynard being named the captain? You're a premiership captain, Cameron Ling. He's sort of the heart and soul, isn't he? But he's very, very different to Darcy Moore.
Yes, no, I think I love it. It takes good teams that ultimately go and win flags, and Mick could even talk better than this from seeing it from a coaching perspective. The differences within your leadership group are really important. The different types of leaders. Tom Harley and I were completely different leaders with the way we went about things. You throw in a Joel Corey for us who didn't say much, but his actions spoke louder than words. Braden Maynard, I haven't heard him talk that much other than when we've interviewed him, and he's just so honest and forthright with what he says.
Wears his heart on his sleeve and just so much for his mates.
Yeah, pure, just action, just do whatever's necessary. And within that Collingwood group, there are so many different personalities that having a variety of leaders that can get the best out of all those players is really important. And so I love the fact that he's got that opportunity, and he's got Scotty Pendlebury who he can lean on if he needs to, and Darcy Moore's had that throughout the year as well. So they've got a terrific group of leaders within this Collingwood team.
We're in Brodie Grundy's old number 4 as well, which I'm sure we'll get to at half-time. Brodie Grundy omitted by Melbourne today. We know that the top 2 and 2 home finals is essentially what we're playing for tonight, and what's in front of Brisbane and Collingwood a chance to close out the McClellan Trophy. Just a quick little sidebar. I won't run through all of the numbers because it's a little laden, but since 2000... the team that's finished first, you're basically guaranteed to make it through to the grand final, about 85% of the time. Second is a pretty good ratio as well. Third has produced a number of premiers, but fourth, since 2000, has not produced a premier, and only 3 grand finalists. So fourth seems to be the spot that doesn't seem to make it through. And should Brisbane lose tonight, that's likely where they'll finish. Win tonight, we know that it'll be top 2 and 2 home finals. Just, do you have a theory as to why that might be?
Well, it's a very interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an interesting quirk in the statistics. Obviously, if you're the 4th best team in the home and away season, you're not in that top. I'm not surprised the top team is more often than not through to the grand final because they've been the best team all year.
What about 5th, Benny? Do you want to just go there? Because, Carlton would probably get that.
Dogs won it from 5th in 2016.
Yeah. So the only 2 from outside the top 4 are the Dogs in 2016 and Adelaide in 1998, but a different system then, of course.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So, that's interesting, because my article this week is about having a extravaganza in the last 2 weeks where you'll understand it's been coming from West Australia, where WAFL, South Australian Football League, they have all their big days on the middle week, which is the bye week. If someone gets injured, like concussion, and it's not a major concussion, they've got the 12 days, they're not going to miss out in the grand final. So we have the Brownlow, we have the All-Australian, the coaches and the Players Association, and all the other little comps around start a bit later so that they finish, so they have no interference from the AFL for their big day, whether it be Ballarat League, whether it be down at Tassie, we're all over, and you have it on that match on Saturday or Sunday.
And of course the start of the AFLW as well.
There you go. You can do all that sort of stuff. Have as much as you can in that 2 weeks where you don't lose momentum. What you do is you actually you're looking and you're wanting, and those 2 sides all of a sudden. What you want as a spectator is have 2 sides as fit as they possibly can coming in and.
Oh, you're saying you're saying not the bye weekend. You're saying have the bye before the grand final.
Yes.
I'm with you. Sorry.
Yes. So they work right through. That's why I reckon.
Right.
I reckon 8, 7, 6, and 5th. Why give them a week off?
Okay.
So you have the bye week, so you have 2 weeks off.
Yep.
And the grand finalists
Yes.
can get rid of little niggles, and also if there's a 12-day delay because of concussion, they are ready to play. You're not being compromised because you can lose. What if happens here tonight? They lose Pendlebury and Dacos.
They've run into each other.
Yes,
and both are concussed.
In a prelim, for example, in a prelim, you're saying, and then they both miss the final based on that.
That's it.
It's taken me
like the Australian side against Nigeria.
It's taken me a long time to come round to
England.
that, Nick.
Yeah,
and I am with you on that now.
Wow.
I very much am. The bye before finals I don't like. I didn't want it. Was because of one season where there was a
Ross.
The Ross line. There was something with the ladder where Freo couldn't move, leave out 13 players. We jumped at that.
Yeah.
But there's an opportunity to allow fresh teams, quality teams, not lose that much momentum, build up excitement, and also, as you said, just avoid that awkwardness of such a serious subject in concussion.
That's a really good point. You imagine what happened with Port Adelaide, Aliir, and I can't remember.
Lockie Jones.
Jones.
If that happens in a prelim,
they're out.
Yeah.
You've lost those two players. Your best defender.
Nick Riewoldt said he would consider trying to get a court injunction to play in the grand final if he was concussed in a prelim.
Yeah, I lost a player in both grand finals against Brisbane. Neither of them should have been rubbed out. And, that in my mind, I wish the club had have done that. Now, I know you say, look, let's leave the courts out of it. But anyway, this has got nothing to do with that. They missed a week. One was Anthony Rocker, heart and soul player, and the other one was Jason Cloak, who was just a great player.
Can I remove, the Aliir example that you're talking about, but I want to remove names because I don't want to suggest a doctor would ever do this, the Port Adelaide one. But in that situation where there's been a big collision and a doctor hasn't made a decision in game, like happened in that, and this is a preliminary final, what motivation is there for them to then report the delayed concussion if it's a grand final coming up? Now, that's questioning the medical profession, which
I've written about that too.
I hesitate to do.
Right.
But if it's a line ball at all, probably should err on the side of leaving them out because of concussion. But it's grand final week.
Last week.
Why? But if you do what Mick's talking about, we clear all that. 12-day protocol, fine, we can have the best possible teams playing. And I agree, you could load up the weekend off, which would land between preliminary final and grand final.
It happened in the AFLW a couple of years ago where the Crows captain Chelsea Randall, who'd already run a premiership, but she's the captain. I mean, she's salt of the earth, the best person you'd ever meet, and put her hand up and said, I'm out. I got concussed. That's the rules. I'm out.
Yeah.
But not everyone is inclined to probably do what Chelsea
I know footballers out here. If you watch, there's no such thing as a tame prelim final, but I will guarantee this, that behind the scenes, a player would run in the race thinking, if I get cleaned up, I've got to teach myself just to bounce straight back up.
Yeah.
And every player will say that because they do not want to get to the prelim final. I missed a grand final. The only game I bloody missed was one game. It wasn't concussion. But let me tell you, I'm still talking about it because it's a grand final. You play your life for a grand final. So this eliminates that thing, and I'm glad you're on board because I just think it's common sense. I can't see what's down.
It took me a while, Mick. I took a long time to get there.
It's common sense, though.
Talk us through this one here because we're only a few minutes away from the opening bounce. Quaynor on Charlie Cameron. Are we going to see that? I mean, there's so many exciting matchups right across the ground. Who will win and why? Cameron Ling, Mick Malthouse.
I think the Quaynor Charlie Cameron matchup should happen. Quaynor's been superb this year.
Absolutely superb. You've surely got him in your mind for a back pocket.
All Australia. We met during the week to really try and firm up. Mid-year meetings, good fun, Mick. You love this. We come up with about 60 names who are having terrific years.
Yeah, that's fair. Just 60, I thought you'd have more, but anyway, that 60 is good.
Yeah, just to get rid of a bit of recency bias if we meet later in the year. And this one that we've just had, you try and really narrow that down, and then we meet again post round 24. Isaac Quaynor's name was certainly discussed. He has been superb, and he'll have a huge role to play on Charlie Cameron. The midfield, of course, is pivotal for both the teams. And just how much Lockie Neal and Dunkley and these types of players can get going. Hugh McCluggage, player you mentioned before, against a Collingwood midfield who is still very, very good. But without Jordan De Goey, don't have their explosive power player.
No.
And without Nick Dacos, they don't have their run and skill and goal kicking.
I like it. The thoughts of Cameron Ling and Mick Malthouse, two experts on Friday Night Football on Grandstand AFL. Tim Hodges is sitting downstairs. Hodgie.
Hello, Ben. Nice to be with you and the team. A win for Braden Maynard. I think he almost did the fist pump after he got the toss correct. The Pies will kick to the Coventry end. That's the right of screen if you're at home watching on the telly. Listening.
Hey, Hodgie, I know you're really close down there, but Maynard's talking to them at the moment in a huddle. Can you lip read at all?
No, I don't think I'd be able to repeat it, Kel, even if I could. I think it'd be pretty loose. Look, it's a monster crowd, an awesome atmosphere at the Docklands when it's a full house with the roof shut. Tonight is a sellout. We know the frustrations of getting 50,000 capacity in to this venue during the AFL season. The Magpies hoping to crack 43,000 tonight. I feel we're well on the way to hitting that target. It's a bitterly cold Melbourne evening, just 9 degrees. There is a heavy dew. We saw a lot of Lions take a couple of pairs of boots out during the warm-up. No late change, so John Noble is playing despite... He trained around 10 minutes this week with that ankle injury, but he is out there. The subs for the Magpies, Mason Cox. For the Lions, Jared Lyons. We hope this is a cracking game. Good calling to you, Ben and Kelly.
Kel nailed it. Quainer on Charlie Cameron in the goal square. Great matchup.
Which way are we tipping?
Oh, Pies. Brisbane just.
Kel?
I'm going the Lions. The umpire holds the yellow Sharon up in his hands. Siren sounds. And a hush across the crowd. Cameron and McInerney. McInerney gets it down. Fossicking around is Neil, and it's going nowhere. Neil starting in the centre alongside McCluggage. Had 28 disposals and a couple of goals last week. And Dunkley. This time, Cameron. And while he's in mid-air, Dunkley skies it and up and under. It's fisted down by Cameron. It comes the way of Newell. He charges his way through traffic, weaving and dodging and then handballing off to Rayner. Shanks the kick inside 50. Slipping over was Hipwood. Murphy takes the mark. Uncontested in front. A little bit of frustration from Eric and he pushes Murphy over. That's why there was the cheers and the jeers. The Pies didn't like the treatment. Murphy comes round dockside straight to McInerney, who out-muscles his direct opponent in Cameron. On the wing, he bombs it long down towards Danaher. Got his hands to it, ball hits the deck. Charging him as Tom Mitchell collided heavily with Danaher. Meanwhile, Neil picks it up, wheels around, kicks it to the top of the goal square, off hands, charging through is Archie. With a snap, he read it beautifully in the goal square. And Callum Archie with just his 4th goal for the season. And the Brisbane Lions break through for the opener here under the close roof. Friday night footy, 1 straight 6. The Pies yet to go inside 50.
Really clever that, Nick, by Archie. So he was on Josh Dacos on the wing. Dacos naturally gets deep to help as a defensive winger. Archie went all the way with him. Yeah. And Dacos, like he so often does, playing almost the little goalkeeper winger role. Yeah. Archie actually went at the footy, Dacos protecting, and saw that little gap and swooped on it beautifully. Really smart play. Saw a chance to get forward on him.
Yeah, really smart play. How good was Dacos getting back there though to help out? So you counter. It was a game of chess.
Tell you who looked sharp early is Lachie Neale. How clean has he been with his 2 touches already?
He's been down on form. Lachie Neale. McInerney wins the tap back in the middle. The Lions kick the first. Dunkley gets the clearance out of the middle. Dribbles it to half forward. Markov there for the Pies. Handball to Mitchell. To Maynard. Look out. Nearly run down. Just gets a handball away. Live footy in the middle of the ground. And the umpire to come in and sort it out. Umpires Foot, Du Bois, Gavin and Finlay in charge of this one. Friday night footy beneath the roof. Cameron knocks it down. It comes back to him. It's big Darcy Cameron in the ruck for Collingwood. Getting involved, the goal kicker Archie. It's not coming out. A ball up on the edge of the centre square.
Darcy Wilmot's got Jamie Elliott, which is a big ask for Elliott, who's been in such good form. But he's up at this stoppage at the moment.
McInerney got it down. Little toe poke. It was a soccer off the ground from Bailey, and then it's hacked back in there by McInerney. Inside 50 here for the Lions. Hoskinelli and clever tap, rides the bump, gathers and handballs beautifully to the acting captain in Maynard. Drives it long down the dockside wing. My check goes to ground. Umpire says play on. His direct opponent was Harris Andrews. Comes to Elliott. Pies wanted to shove in the back. He handballs it out. Tom Mitchell getting involved. Offside, loads it up to Pendlebury, delivers to the top of the goal square. Howe started down there up forward. Now Ginnivan, here's a chance. He goes to ground. Maybe might have been taken high. Brisbane Lions defenders everywhere, and the exiting kick comes off one of their boots. Josh Dacos does well, keeps it in play to Myercheck. His kick was smothered by Dunkling. It's pinging around on the outer side, city side. Now Pendlebury involved. Tries to work his way to Crisp. Crisp second effort. He can't control it. Ball to be won here. Tom Mitchell gives the looping handball over to Elliott. Gives it to Myercheck. A step out, 40 metres out. Needs a kind bounce. And he got one.
No, I don't think so. Collingwood aren't excited about this at all.
So there's a conversation happening between the field umpire and the goal umpire.
The soft call is it's hit the post, and he is... Oh, I reckon it's hit the flag.
Oh, no, it has as well.
Oh.
The flag that's sticking in the post and just the top edge of it.
Oh, no, it's hit the post first.
Has
you
it?
reckon? Yeah. Have a look. You have a look, see it? Post.
Yes, good
post
call, Mick.
first.
Okay.
Good call.
So denied the opener. Myercheck. And one behind for the Pies. It's one major for the Brisbane Lions.
Players know. Collingwood straight away we need a defensive kick-off plan. So there's no doubt about that.
Equal career high, 5 goals last week for Brodie Myercheck. Payne kicks up to the wing through the hands of Danaher, follows up at ground level, flicks it out. Berry loses it. Dunkley gets it. Handball to McInerney. Winds down the wing, back to Berry. Forward of the wing now, Rayner. Takes a bounce. Looks long inside 50. Hipwood back leading to goal. Can't mark. Charlie Cameron's out the back, tries to pick it up. Murphy a strong tackle. And the umpire comes in to wrap his arms to his chest. Ball up at full forward here for Brisbane.
What a great tackle by Murphy.
Tackle.
Brilliant.
That's absolutely outstanding by Murphy.
1 straight 6 to 1 behind. Brisbane lead 5 minutes in.
McInerney's taken out of the ruck on the edge of the goal square. Had a great opportunity, but just smacked it on the outside of the boot. And he's missed it from 10 metres out. Snap went flying off to the right for a minus score, Mick.
And guess who we had to go through to actually kick the goal?
Josh Dacos.
Josh Dacos down there again. He covers some distance, Josh Dacos. I know he's had a goal kicked on him, but he does everything right by his team there.
Maynard on the kick-in duties, pinpoint to Adams. It was a brilliant kick. He would have set himself for tonight, Braden Maynard. So Adams short delivers to Chris by boot, who delivers to Noble by hand. Is going to take on Coleman and does. Just flirts with the boundary line, up to Hoskin. Elliott kicks inside 50, launching right across in front was Howe. Well, he's known for the speckies. That was a sitter, and he dropped it in the end. Slippery fingers and a couple of quick handballs, and they're able to clear it off half-back, the Brisbane Lions. Zorko now in possession.
Wants to bite off the kick into the middle of the ground, looking for Rayner. He brings it down to ground. Now he's set upon. Handball away to Bailey. Turnover from his handball. Murphy tackled to ground. Pies with it in the middle. A ball up in the middle of Docklands. 0437 774 774. Our SMS line number tonight.
Great tackle by McCluggage too. Tackling's been fierce.
McInerney slaps it down straight to Dunkley, and he's wrenched to ground by Scotty Pendlebury.
No one behind the ball, which is interesting. Oh, sorry, Collingwood have got one.
Darcy Cameron wins the tap in his 200th game. Hoskin Elliott able to get it. Handball away to Dacos. This is Josh, the only Dacos in the team. Handball to the wing, loose footy. Bailey there for the Lions. Handball to Berry. Handball to Starcevic, to Neal, and now Coleman on the wing.
Moves it on. Trying to get it to a teammate. Coming in was Ryan, the debutant, and made sure it wasn't a clean possession for the Brisbane Lions player on the bottom of that pack. And it is Zorko. Heavy mid-air collision between Zorko and the debutant, Jacob Ryan from Glenelg. South Australian. Another tangle of arms and legs. Lipinski emerges with the footy. He's handballed straight to Berry, though. Berry with the give and go, Zorko. Oh, and then the fend off on the other number 7, which was Josh Dacos. He got a little bit ahead of himself, though, Berry, because the kick was smothered. And the smother came from Markov. Gee, it's intense.
Yeah, great help by Markov too, wasn't it?
Yes.
Because Berry got away from him, nice fend off, and came over and helped out. I reckon McCluggage is all over Darcy Cameron. McInerney's all over Darcy Cameron at the moment, Mick.
Yep, and he wins this one, palms it down. McCluggage had it, lost it. Now here's a chance for Fletcher. Tries to beat a couple, but Josh Dacos says you're going nowhere, and Lipinski's there as well, and he's got him for holding the ball.
You don't mind seeing that young player trying to just get... I know it wasn't much in front of him except a bit of space, so he took the space as opposed to hand pass here.
Here's Lipinski from half back. looking for McStay at half forward on the dock side. And McInerney's gone down. He gets up a little sore. McStay, a long way from home. Off to Maynard. His handball was a hospital pass for Dacos. He was tackled by Jasper Fletcher.
Oh, he's just held on a little bit too long. It's going to be against Fletcher. This one's going to go to Josh Dacos. He nailed the tackle initially and then just continued on with it for a little bit too long.
Actually, I thought he was going to get free kick against him for incorrect disposal. He just dropped it.
Pies with it at high half forward. The kick from Dacos finds side bottom, who gets it on the boot. It'll float around the boundary and out on the full.
Well, that's just a nice little moment for everyone else who plays footy to see that Josh Dacos and Steele side bottom can make mistakes by foot.
Pies with it at fullback. Sorry, the Lions with it at fullback. Starcevic kicks to the back pocket, away to McKenna. Chips it short to Coleman. Back in the side after an eye issue. Seen him miss the last 3. Defensive edge of the square. Kicks long up to McCarthy. He takes the mark forward of the wing. City side of the ground. He'll wheel and kick long in the Danaher direction. And Joe's got it. High points it. 30 out. 30-degree angle to the right-hand side.
And as good as Nathan Murphy is, that's where Darcy Moore not being there hurts them, because that's 9 centimetres in height and about 6 or 7 kilos. And as soon as Joe Danaher got front position there, Mick, he was always going to mark that.
Absolutely. And it's funny because coming in, I spoke about Darcy Moore not being in great form, but you're right, that those centimetres, they help.
This is the question mark. Danaher comes in, and it's Joe Cool to start. 2-1-13 the Lions. Collingwood 1 behind through the opening 10 minutes in the opening term on Grandstand AFL. Mick Malthouse and Cameron Lee.
That's just where that forward line at the moment, Mick. So Lincoln McCarthy getting up the ground, taking that mark, just wheeling and going. When they play like that and they can isolate a little bit and they're not all flying for the same ball, Hipwood and Danaher and Cameron, isolation, that's when they look a good forward line. I understand that it doesn't always happen like that, and that's still the question mark, but when you see little moments like that, you think, okay, this Brisbane team has made a little step forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're all marking players too, Lingy. I know you know McCarthy very, very well, but, you know, Rayner's a good mark. Cameron can take a good mark. And McCluggage, if he's down there, Zorko's probably not, but they can all mark. And you say you've got to be on your toes everywhere.
Opening 2 goals go to the Lions. McInerney just pushes Cameron aside and then gets a kick away. Zorko couldn't control it, flicked it out to Robertson. Getting involved also for the Brisbane Lions is Dunkley, but they've come unstuck. Fletcher had it, then he lost it. Watch Markov run and go and give to side bottom and then keep going. He accepts the handball, loops it up the sideline, got it to Hoskin Elliott, and now to Lipinski. This is all by hand to Adams, who wheels around the kick inside 50. Might sit here for no ball. Oh, he takes on Archie. He steadies and he goes for goal. He started on the bench. He's been on for about 20 seconds. He just came on for Maynard. And he's goaling. Ankle. What ankle problem, says Pies fans. That's the opener. And not many thought it would have come from the defender off the boot of John Noble. 1-1-7 Collingwood, Brisbane 2-1-13. After 11 minutes of play under the closed roof, Friday night footy.
Well, it came about because of, again, that control of the ball through the corridor. It didn't matter who's going to kick the goal, whether it be Noble on the end of it, whether it be Pendlebury. It didn't matter. They were going to work the ball through that corridor. There was a line ball decision at the end. Coleman and
I think it was Archie.
Archie, was it?
And Johnny Noble. When we talk about the phrase body lining the ball,
yes,
this is what we're referring to. John Noble body lines the ball. Archie puts an arm in. Look at this, just tries to take it with the hand.
You can't do that.
Nah.
That's what they're so good, Collingwood, when they hit the ball and hit players that hard and fairly.
So the Pies' first goal of the game after Brisbane kicked their first 2 and the debutant. Here Ryan takes the mark. That could have the logo for the Pies after the Brisbane clearance. Moves it on to Josh Dacos, who gives it to Lipinski. Kick to half forward. Andrews fists it away. After a McCreary, can't quite run it in. A throw in right half forward. Tim Hodges.
Just interesting on Lingy's point, Charlie Cameron absolutely saw what he saw and he came to the bench, and Callum Archie was on the bench and he told him about it as well. So there was, it's as animated as I've seen Charlie Cameron ever, really.
Timmy, can I just ask you just one thing about that? Was it wasn't demoralising talk? Was it? Was it just instructional?
No, it was more. Yeah, it was a decent old bake, and it was a clip for Hugh McCluggage as well.
Here go the Pies. Chris trying to deliver away to Elliott through his hands. Forced to Starcevic. Kick smothered by Elliott. Ricochets to Chris. Away to Adams. To Josh Dacos. Josh Dacos with the finish. And the Pies have come charging back into this contest. Fashionably late upon arrival. The Lions kicked the first two. Collingwood the next two. It's 2-1-13 each of two here on Grandstand AFL.
They're just so dynamic, aren't they, Mick? The Pies, they keep the ball alive, they throw it round, any chance to get it into a really good attacking part of the ground. For a moment, it looked like a Brisbane Lions clearance. Jamie Elliott with a superb smother, and then just sharp hands. And Josh Dacos missed one kick about 3 or 4 minutes ago. He won't miss any more for the rest of the night.
Well, it's interesting, he's 6'5" inside 50s. Clearance is 2'8" against Collingwood because McInerney's controlling. He's no longer on the ground. So this is where Danaher
v McStay.
Yeah, and neither of them really want to be out there in the ruck, but they want to be around the ground. I'm not saying they just don't ruck.
They know each other well. Just a little wink. Let's not jump at it.
All tied up, 2 goals apiece. McStay went at it in the air and he's at it at ground level, filing out the handball. Gives it to Crisp, who kicks it to centre half forward. Bouncing ball. McCreary grits the teeth, charges after it and then delivers almost to Josh Dacos, was the intended target. But instead, charging through is Jack Ginnivan. He says, I'll take that, thank you very much. And he snaffles it in his blue boots and the black headband. And he'll go back and have a set shot. 45-degree angle right on 50 he'll kick this from.
Great to see him get a starting spot this week. I thought he was so good for them last week. When he came on as the sub early on, he just electrified them with his movement, with his danger. Now starting on the ground. Great chance to get into the game early.
8 goals from his 9 games. Can he make a statement to the coach? I deserve to start on the ground. Is exactly what Jack Ginnivan says. He's a fan favourite. And they come over and ruffle his hair, give him a pat on the back. He adjusts the headband. And the Magpies army is up and about at the southern end of this great stadium on Friday night footy. Pies get in front for the first time. Lead it by 6, 3-1-19. Brisbane 2-1-13 after 16 minutes.
Nick, the centre bounce before, we were joking about it, but Dan McStay's 195 centimetres. Not big for a ruckman.
No.
Joe Danaher's 201. McStay won that last hit out by a good foot and a half.
Because he wanted to.
Joe didn't want any bar of the centre bounce.
No, you know what? You're better off putting Zorko in there.
Could Hipwood do it? Why would they not use him? Or he's too lightly framed? Or
really, it doesn't matter.
Look, I think when the ball hits the ground, Joe's better at ground level.
Yeah, so you've got to have a look at Richmond's premiership years. Their second ruck was
Sean Grigg.
I mean,
classifies himself as a premiership ruck.
Silvani does it for Carlton.
That's better, Joe. Jump at the footy.
McStay knocks it down and then follows up. Now getting involved, Rayner for Brisbane. Handball away to Danaher. Tumbles a kick inside, attacking 50 for the Lions. Bounces past Hipwood. Waynor there for Collingwood and bursts away with it. He'll kick from half back to half forward. Fisted away by Andrews into the middle of the ground. Rayner there for the Lions. Handball away towards Robertson, who gives it off to Berry. A kick towards full forward. McCarthy, bracketed by a couple of Pies. Spills to Cameron. Snaps a beauty. Brisbane respond immediately. And scores a level again. A shootout beneath the roof on a Friday night. 3-1-19 apiece. We've played 17 and a half in the opening stanza.
I need to check something here, Mick.
He paid the mark.
Did he pay the mark?
Paid the mark, paid the free kick.
Free kick, it must have been.
Paid the free kick. Had the mark, then they paid the free kick for a front on interference.
Okay, that's fine.
Lincoln McCarthy.
Yes, because you can't get advantage from a mark. I thought it was a mark paid, but
well,
I think you're right. It was a free kick paid, wasn't it?
Yeah. Look, personally, I reckon it was a mark.
Yeah.
But they interfered.
So the first 2 to the Lions, the next 3 to Collingwood, and then Brisbane hits straight back. All tied up at 19 points apiece. McInerney's back out there, going toe-to-toe with Cameron. McInerney, too big, looking for Neil, who couldn't quite swoop on it before the boot of Pendlebury. Soccers it off the turf. Juggling it and missing it was Mychek. Pendlebury gets involved again. This all on the City side wing. Oh, crisp. That is a ferocious tackle on the youngster in Fletcher.
I think Jasper Fletcher's just finding out you're not going to break these tackles.
Good luck with the big boys on top of the ladder. Jasper Fletcher, who's been so impressive this year. McInerney wins it again. And then it bobbles around at ground level. Hoskin Elliott from a starting start. And launches. And Leicester. Standing start is what I was trying to say. So Leicester with a reliable defensive mark, as he does so often, from one side of the back pocket to the other, where he's got Berry.
Moves it short to McKenna, and left half back. Scores level through the opening 19 minutes. McKenna looks long up towards the wing. Murphy right there with McCluggage, and he fists it out. And a throw in right in front of Tim Hodges.
Some work down here for Oscar McInerney on his left hand. He's got a lot of strapping on both hands, but that left hand, you can see it. It's actually blown up a bit. He's doing everything he can with his right hand only. That left hand is giving him a hell of a lot of pain.
Yeah, I saw that injury and he was shaking it, so something definitely has happened to him.
Taps it down here with his left hand, straight in front to Dunkley, who's immediately wrapped up. It's probably from all of the early taps.
Yeah, it might be the only thing that slows him down. He's been the most dominant player in the field so far.
He was last time they met as well in the coaches' votes on that night. Taps it down here to Neil, who runs an arc for the Lions. High ball to half forward looking for a marker. Frampton puts his fist through it. Spills to McCluggage. Cuts a swathe through them. Runs to 48 and misses left. It's the knock on his game. Mick Malthouse spoke about it pre-game. Wants him to finish a little more. Does hand the Lions the lead by a solitary point 20 minutes in.
Well, it was fantastic play by McCluggage. He cut through beautifully, straightened up, but just errs on that final step, I reckon.
So Quaynor brings it round on the kick into the dock side. It missed the hands of the big boys, and now at ground level, the midfielders are doing their work. Side bottom comes in and ties up Payne, Jack Payne.
Collingwood 16 tackles, Brisbane 6.
Ooh.
And a contested ball would be about the same, I'd say.
Throw up rather, ball up. Here's McCluggage, side bottom. He gets it, can't quite get it to Adams. Charging through Coleman.
Drop kick
off the ground, it was good. Jasper's able to pick it up. Fletcher, quick hands in the bullseye. Here is Rayner. Play on advantage as the umpire blowing his whistle. No, he'll leave it and say, Robertson, off you go, because they've got it on the City wing. The delivery in a one-on-one. One was Hipwood, the other was Frampton. Umpire doesn't blow his whistle. Bursting clear is Zach Bailey. Bursting through for a goal. Pies fans don't like it. They thought it was a free further back. Umpire didn't blow his whistle at all. And the Lions out by 7 points. 4-2-26. Collingwood 3-1-19 after 21 minutes.
The Lingy, interesting about Bailey, he's the reverse. He doesn't get as many possessions as McCluggage, but he's a better finisher.
Yep.
Quite frankly, I would love to see him spend more time on the ball. I think he's a very, very talented player, hard at it. And the other bloke is Rayner. To get him into the game, get them on the ball.
Yeah, I agree with Zach Bailey. And I think he's showing glimpses of being able to go up on the ball. But you also want him in the front half because he's so effective in front of goal, as you say. And
his 25th goal for the season, 25-15 compared to McCluggage, who's mainly on the wing and in the mid, who's kicked 9 goals, 11.
Yes. Also kicked a goal after the siren against Collingwood.
Yes. Oh, it was against
when they last met here. Yeah. So the Collingwood fans won't have fond memories. Here's McInerney straight down to Robertson, who's tackled quickly, trying to burst through the tackle. Holding the ball, Josh Dacos pinging him. And he'll get the free kick in the middle.
It's the 18 tackle of the Pies. They're just really strong at that.
Low ball inside 50 to Darcy Cameron. Outpoints McInerney. And the Pies let him know about it.
Doesn't matter how many hit-outs and how many palm downs you get, Big O.
Oh, Ginnivan's half his size and was just straight into him. Let him know all about it.
Oh, you know what? McInerney couldn't go. He only went one hand. I reckon he has damaged that hand because he didn't put both hands up, and I reckon the hand he put. I'd like to see that again. Jack Ginnivan, really, he's not a superstar yet, son.
Plum in front, 30 metres out. Darcy Cameron gives the Pies their response. It's back to a 1-point game. 23 minutes into the first term. 4-2-26, plays 4-1-25, Brisbane lead. Mick Malthouse, Cameron Ling.
That's what Darcy Cameron needs to do at the right time. So Oscar McInerney, outstanding so far in the hit-outs and his influence around the stoppages, will get back and will help out. And you're right, Tim Hodges told us on the boundary when he was down at the bench getting a bit of treatment on that hand, and he really can only go one-handed at the moment, so must be very sore with the other one. So if Darcy Cameron can go forward with him and engage him at the right time, he might just be able to grab one or two of those. Really well played on this occasion.
Lions by a point. A real arm wrestle unfolding here this evening at Docklands.
Just watch that again. He got pushed out the way too easily.
Top two. Right hand is what McInerney goes for, but Cameron got there first, palms it down to Pendlebury, who kicks out wide, and that'll be out of bounds.
They're going to pay him for
deliberate.
that. He tried to kick a banana.
That was not deliberate, and it's been deemed deliberate.
That's no game sense at all. He just hit the middle of the ball. He shaped to kick a banana.
Fletcher from half-back kicks it to half-forward, but it's all pies. Frampton, awkward kick, but still side bottoms there to take the uncontested mark. Right in front of the Lions bench, he centres it. Hits up Pendlebury. It was a sideways kick. Oh, no.
No, that's not...
Zach Bailey's cribbed over the mark, and it's 50, and Pendlebury's going to kick a goal.
I don't think it was.
No, I disagree. He moved. He's called him for movement on the mark.
And Pendlebury faked.
But it was instantaneous too.
Fake.
Yeah, it was. The umpire wouldn't have called stand yet.
Yeah, it was the fake by Pendlebury. He thought, he held. Zach Bailey moved, bingo, and he's got a shot 35 metres out directly in front.
That's what it really is, absolutely.
When a ball has been hard to win, this hurts for the Brisbane Lions. Top of the table clash. Pendlebury offline. Unusual. So now it's all tied up. Scores are level, and that's what it deserves to be. 4-2, 26 apiece with 5 and a bit minutes to play before quarter time.
So Wilmot with the kick in. His dad, Grant, actually played a season at the Pies back in 1980. Chips it short to the pocket. Here for the Lions, they're hemmed in. Starcevic with it in the right back pocket, goes back to Wilmot. At fullback, here he goes. He tears away with the footy, chips it short. And Bailey marks. The Lions still in their defensive arc. He'll kick out towards Coleman or Dunkley. It bounces to Dunkley. Handball to Neal. Now they're under pressure. Back to Starcevic. He'll have to kick it up and under. It'll come down at half forward for the Pies. Picked up there by Darcy Cameron. Free kick.
It'll be a block against Tom Mitchell.
Silly free kick by Mitchell. Really, I mean, they're so obvious. We've got 4 umpires.
How good, just before that, how good was Jamie Elliott with that hassle and the pressure, forced that up and under kick.
But how long does it take, how many games does it take to work out Collingwood's modus operandi is that they want you to do that, Lingy?
So Coleman's got it on the western wing, and he kicks to half forward where McInerney handballs, tests out that sore hand. Archie now bursts through, picks up the footy and puts it on his right boot, and he's kicked 2. He kicked the opener here earlier in this quarter. And Callum Archie now has 2 to his name. He came in this evening having booted just 3 goals for the season and 45 goals in his 113-game career. But 2 now, and they're back in front by 6 points. 5-2, 32, Collingwood 4-2, 26.
Be nice if we just got an old-school shootout on the wing, Mick.
Well,
Archie's got 2 and Josh Dacos has got 1.
Yeah, and the way they're playing, they're allowing, the way they play, they're actually allowing each other to be involved in goal scoring. Because Josh Dacos, as you call it early, is playing in behind to help out. Archie is playing smarter, well, not smarter than him, but up the ground, mate. Don't go near him. Let it work the other way.
Shake hands and I'll see you at the end of the game.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I think they're a bit closer than that, but I know what you're talking about there, Benny. That happens quite frequently.
Bounce in the middle. McInerney winning the tap with his right hand. Bursting through his Lockie Neal. Kicks long to full forward. Rayner can't take the mark. Comes down to Danaher. Tackled by Frampton. Taken to ground. Ball up. 35 out from the attacking goal here for the Lions.
Yeah. He's had 10 already, Lockie Neal. 3 and 7. There's 3 and 7, so he hasn't kicked the ball a lot. But when he breaks, he just terrorised the line.
McInerney backhands it down. Oscar Elliott with a clearing kick for the Pies into the middle of the ground. No one can mark it. Wilmot goes after it at ground level. They pile on top. And the umpire's going to ping him holding the ball. So Howe will come away with it for Collingwood, and they'll move it quickly down the Docks wing.
Where McCreary's mark uncontested, right in front of the Pies bench. Back inboard, a short kick, hits up Noble.
The easy way for umpires these days is if they can't clear themselves, they just give away a free kick. They give a award a free kick. Not always right though, Lingy.
So Noble kicks us as far as he possibly can. Right on 50 it lands. Cameron gets it down. Archie's there, gives it off to Wilmot. All by hands. This is McCarthy now by foot. Oh no. Oh dear, out of bounds on the full. He looked up. There was only one Brisbane Lions player. It was Bailey, who was about 20 metres inboard. And it's missed by 30 metres. So Maynard, the acting skipper, has got the Sherrin in his hands at half-back for the Pies. You heard the thud of the Sherrin. Looking for the rucks. McInerney gets it down. Lipinski. Crisp. Good tackle. Broke the hands free. Able to get it to Mitchell. Off to Pendlebury. Streams ahead. A really low ball here for Elliott. Awkward half volley. Picked it up beautifully. Back to Adams, who just tosses it on the boot. And it just hits the top of the point post, in fact, Taylor Adams. So that'll be deemed out of bounds on the full.
Short kick in from Berry, away to McCluggage. Long kick up to the wing for the Lions. Coming up Frampton, can't take the mark. Close to the boundary line. It's kept in for the time being by Leicester. He's slung down in a tackle, but a throw in. Oh, free kick.
Yeah, I think it's for the sling down. Oh, no, sorry. It was for the after play, push to his head, and it was there.
Yeah, that is.
Yep.
If that's
Clear.
what we're seeing, that is a free kick. It's another silly free kick, though.
Yeah, the tackle had finished. It was out of bounds, and then just a push in the face. Silly.
Danaher with a long kick to half forward. McInerney able to gather it close to the boundary line. The Pies are there through Darcy Cameron. Handball to Markov. Handball to Mitchell. Ryan, the debutant, under pressure. Dangerous kick. It just finds Josh Dacos on the last line. He wants to move it on quickly. And he'll spot up Noble in the right back pocket for the Pies. He goes short to McCreary. Brisbane by 6 points, 30 minutes into the first.
Look how fast they're prepared to move it. Josh Dacos there under the pump. You'd think just take a moment. Straight away wants to get it going.
McCreary kicks to right in front of the interchange gates where Howe and Elliott were the targets. Waiting at the back, McKenna spins around Lucky. Didn't look where he was kicking, but Starcevic, right place, right time, takes a chest mark.
That's a good kick, though. Don't run the risk of going out of bounds and getting caught. Don't go in corridor. Take fence.
Defensive side of the Dock wing. He kicks to the attacking side. McCarthy's there. Frampton with a big nudge. Umpire says, yep. Coming back, it'll be a free kick to McCarthy.
No. That's a good decision. He dead set shepherded him off, took his eyes off the ball and held his ground.
So Frampton's got the free kick and he retreats all the way back to the top of the defensive goal square where Maynard's got it. Flicks the switch round to Ryan, and Ryan's kick. Oh, the debutants put it out of bounds on the full. He was looking for Hoskin Elliott on the City side. And just a little blunder to start his AFL career. Berry's going to pounce on it. Oh, Berry's kicked into the van on the mark, which was Hoskin Elliott, the 200 gamer. And over the boundary line it goes.
That's a terrible mistake.
Yeah, he had poor awareness.
He had 15 metres to kick that football.
What I've noticed with Charlie Cameron is every time Ryan gets the ball, he's going at him hard. He just senses, I can get the first gamer here to get a bit rattled.
Pies with the football after the Darcy Cameron tap. Crisp, the former Lion, back to Maynard. He'll kick around the corner to the wing. Underneath it, Darcy Cameron juggles, doesn't quite complete it. Now Berry's in there for the Lions, out to Neil. Quick handball, Markov chops it off for the Pies. Little fumble allows in the Lions. They tackle him quickly. And a ball up. 55 out from the attacking goal for Brisbane. Late in the opening term. The Lions by 1 goal. Slapped inside 50. Maynard punches it away. Back towards the wing. Punched on there by McKenna. Comes down to McCluggage. Gets around Maynard. Will kick inside 50. Can't find a target. Bouncing ball. Archie. Slick gather. Off to Rayner. Snaps the goal. The Lions are out by a couple. Back-to-back majors for Brisbane. They've put on 6 on the Pies in the opening term. 6-2-38, plays 4-2-26. Nearly 33 minutes played in the first.
10 majors we've seen in half an hour of footy.
For 2 defensive sides. It's amazing. Really is. Neither coach, well, I'd certainly Craig McCrae be looking back going, hang on, that's 8 shots on goal for inside 50s 14 times, so it's over 50%. There's something. Where is it coming from? Are our backs not good enough, or our mids giving too much up?
Well, I think they must be, because the tackle count is 23-7 Collingwood's way.
Yeah.
So Collingwood are actually tackling reasonably well, but Brisbane are still getting through. They've generated 14 inside 50s and scored.
Yeah.
Fascinating tactical duel unfolding here on Grandstand AFL. It's the Lions by 12 points, and they take it out of the centre. Quick hands. Neil kicks it out of mid-air, and Noble's there to chop it off at centre half-back. Flares the kick wide to Markov. There's marking in front of Bailey at half-back. On the City side, he goes short to Maynard. Seconds ticking down to quarter time. Maynard happy just to go slow with this approach. The leader tonight with no Darcy Moore out there. Pack forms off hands right near the boundary line. Can the Lions keep it in? Pendlebury is able to scoop it up. And 10 majors we've seen in the opening quarter of what some would say might just be a grand final preview of 2023. It is the one thing for sure. It's a top-of-the-table clash. And it's the visitors, the Lions, with a 12-point lead. 6-2-38 Collingwood, 4-2-26. The goal kickers, 2 to Archie, 1 to Rayner, Bailey, Charlie Cameron and Danaher. And for the Pies, all single goal kickers, Noble, Ginnivan, Dacos and Cameron.
The thoughts of Mick Malthouse and Cameron Ling coming up here on Grandstand AFL. Your text to 0437 774 774. Plenty of those. We'll get to those in a moment. This is Grandstand AFL.
What's the best thing in the world that's also on the ABC Listen app? The footy! This season, get your footy live and ad-free on the ABC Listen app.
Straight through for a goal.
AFL, NRL, men's, women's. Whatever you fix, we've got you covered.
She's got it. Bye-bye. See you later.
Every goal, try, mark and tackle. Called by ABC Sports' expert commentary team.
Tip. Bingo.
AFL and NRL, live and ad-free. Get it on the ABC Listen app.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Neil picks it up, wheels around, kicks it to the top of the goal square, off hands, charging through is Archie. With a snap, he read it beautifully in the goal square. And Callum Archie with just his 4th goal for the season. To Adams, who wheels around the kick inside 50, might sit here for Noble. Oh, he takes on Archie, he steadies, and he goes for goal. He started on the bench, he's been on for about 20 seconds, and he's goaling.
Kick smothered by Elliott, ricochets to Chris, away to Adams, to Josh Dacos. Josh Dacos with the finish, and the Pies have come charging back into this contest, fashionably late upon arrival. A kick towards full forward McCarthy, bracketed by a couple of Pies, spills to Cameron, snaps a beauty. Brisbane respond immediately.
The delivery in a one-on-one. One was Hipwood, the other was Frampton. Umpire doesn't blow his whistle. Bursting clear is Zach Bailey. Bursting through for a goal.
Low ball inside 50 to Darcy Cameron. Out points McInerney. Darcy Cameron gives the Pies their response. Can't find a target, bouncing ball. Archie, slick gather, off to Rayner, snaps the goal. The Lions are out by a couple.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
We've seen 10 goals kicked in an opening quarter shootout beneath the roof on a chilly Friday night in Melbourne. Brisbane 6-2-38, leading Collingwood 4-2-26. It's all before Brisbane win tonight, and it looks like a top 2 position will be theirs and 2 home finals in September. Mick Malthouse, Cameron Ling, the best experts in the game. How did it all unfold?
Mick, I'll give you a little combination, and I reckon you'll agree with me where I'm going with this one. Hit-outs in that first quarter, 18-6,
Yep.
Oscar McInerney's way. And that led to Lachie Neale, 13 disposals, Josh Dunkley, 10 disposals, Jared Berry, 10 disposals, and Lachie Neale with 5 clearances. And they weren't just hit outs that don't go anywhere or hardly to players' advantage. They were good, genuine hit outs to a midfielder's advantage, flying through on the move, and that felt like the little advantage Brisbane had, because Collingwood still had some terrific passages of play and looked dangerous when they moved the ball, looked dangerous when they went forward and could put some pressure on their forward 50. But from those clearances from the middle of the ground, Brisbane looked pretty impressive.
Yeah, you're spot on. I'm just looking at the overall disposal count, and it's around about the same, 106, 105, so we'll call that squared. Contested football favouring Brisbane, which that's really about true.
That would be mainly in the clearances?
Oh, absolutely. So by dominating those clearances and having so many players win so much of the football through those stoppages and through McInerney, Collingwood are generating it a lot off their half-back line.
Yep.
But they've only had it in there 11 times. Now, admittedly, they've scored 6 of those, so they've gone over 50%. But the Collingwood that we know, when they can get that football through the corridor and bring that ball in, then they're going to give multiple chances to players. Right now, that's only happened a few times. Surprisingly enough, Scotty Pendlebury's kick was a pretty ordinary one. We saw Howe drop a mark. So there's a couple of things that didn't go right, but Cameron getting in there, taking a mark, kicking a goal in. But a lot of ball has to come back from this half-back line, not quite in front of 50, and I reckon Brisbane aren't doing too bad with that ball.
It's funny that the quarter time last week against Geelong,
yes,
it felt similar, where Geelong were taking the ball forward and they were actually hitting that target and being able to kick that goal. Now, as fatigue sets in and the Collingwood pressure went up last week, which I'm sure is what they're going to try and do here, that kick missed at centre-half forward for the Cats, and the Pies went flying back the other way, as we touched on pre-game. So Brisbane have got to be sure when they're kicking it forward, it's the right option and hits the target. Otherwise, Collingwood will start launching a lot of scores off half-back.
Lachie Neale found plenty of the ball. 13 disposals, 6 contested possessions, 5 clearances, 3 score involvements. What does Craig McRae do?
Yeah, well, see, that six contested possessions is the key to there. So therefore, he's getting the ball in tight. Now, Collingwood historically have not been. We're not going to worry about them. We're just under Craig.
Yeah, they don't tag.
No. So
they've pushed Josh Dacos inside, Mick.
Yes, but he won't. I don't think he'll go to Lachie Neale. But having said that, I reckon Craig McRae's got to start looking at plan 2 and get someone in there who can do that.
Brisbane leading by 2 goals at quarter time. Second term underway. McInerney and Darcy Cameron. Darcy Cameron wins the tap down. Hugh McCluggage gathers. Handball away to Dunkley. Lions with the first clearance. Mark taken by Zorko. At half forward. Looks towards full forward. Wants Cameron. Charlie flying through the sky.
Wow, that's unbelievable.
Did you see the movement too for him to get to that mark?
Speed, but he took them. It's like those slip catches you take behind your body. He took that. He launched himself first before he turned in the air to take that mark. That was unbelievable.
He was the first lead too, coming out towards 50. The moment he knew that wasn't going to him, brakes on, turned around and worked back, and as you said, took an amazing mark. Try stopping that.
Wow. He's already got one tonight. Comes in and pokes it through. Charlie's got a couple. And the Lions lead by 3 goals early in the second.
That was an outstanding mark, outstanding. But the play in the middle created the opportunity.
Now, just watching, I think it was Markov had the matchup with Charlie Cameron. I think it's because Cameron started up high. Markov's preferred to be up high. But I don't know if you can afford to, against Charlie Cameron, say, well, if I play as a high halfback, therefore I'll, regardless of what the matchup is. I reckon he needs a matchup, and I reckon they've changed it just now. Quaynor's gone to him and said, well, wherever he goes, Quaynor's the man to do it.
Yeah, Lingy, just picture back when Zorko took the mark, who was, just trying to think, Noble was 10 yards in front of him. Yeah. Already so aggressive, it come off. It didn't come off, rather. You've got to be very careful.
350th goal of Charlie Cameron's career, closing in on 50 for the season as well.
2 for tonight, 6 in round 4 when they beat the Pies at the Gabba. McKenna has got it on the back of the centre circles. Kick towards Zorko. Oh, he steps inside out of no ball, and then he delivers for Hipwood. Lost it right at the last moment. McCarthy in the left forward pocket, kicks to the right forward pocket. Almost a juggling mark taken by Fletcher before Quaynor literally gobbles him up and tosses him over the boundary line.
Great help by Frampton there. Hipwood had just got off his opponent, was going to mark that. Frampton had to come off Danaher, make the spoil. Great job.
Pies defence under pressure here. Cameron Robertson thought he had it, but it was stolen by Sidebottom. Markov right on the last line of defence. He's looking for that goal line, but he's not finding it. It'll be a ball up literally 2 centimetres in from the boundary line and about a metre on the side of the goal square. McInerney tries to get it straight down to Dunkley. McCluggage, rather, he's set upon by 3 Magpies.
Wow.
Holding the ball. He tried one step inboard, one little step, and they gobbled him up. And Darcy Cameron will be awarded the free kick.
They're set up outside the front 50. Brisbane was outstanding then. Collingwood would have had to have been precise with their kicking.
Darcy Cameron goes long and Myercheck goes up and takes the pack mark.
Gee, that's an important mark. Brisbane had them hemmed in with Darcy Cameron taking the kick, so they didn't have him as the tall target. That relieves a lot of pressure.
Lions by a game high 3 goals as the kick to the wing at 4-1. Leicester unopposed takes the intercept mark for the Lions. Kicks back towards centre half back. Mark taken there by Berry. Berry will chip it short into the middle. Hipwood moves it on quickly. Zorko running through the middle. Out towards left half forward for McCarthy. He marks and backpedals. Now he looks inside 50. He'll go on his left. Looking for McInerney in front. Darcy Cameron punches it away. Holding free kick. It'll go the way of Darcy Cameron and the Pies.
Yep. Again, the kick wasn't precise. I don't know why he went in his left when he's a right footer. So McInerney was playing behind and had to get in front. Did it illegally.
Brisbane are going through John Noble's man at half forward.
They are always. Yes, they are. Because he's giving so much. It's like he's given a leash probably 5 or 6 metres before he even starts.
Yeah, so Zorko's had a couple, and that was McCarthy again.
Yeah. It's okay to be attacking, but guess what? The role is.
So the Pies in possession on the City side up the wing. It's a double grab at a Myercheck. That's a lovely grab. Oh, the umpire says play on. Myercheck's got it. He's got time to handball over to Crisp, who kicks it inside 50. Might sit in front of Taylor Adams. He paddles it to his own advantage. Throws it on the right boot. It's got to dribble through, but it doesn't through the big sticks instead. Through the big and the little sticks, which means it's a 9 score. The Brisbane Lions lead by 17 points at the 5-minute mark of this second quarter. At this stage last week at the MCG, it was Geelong by 22 points. And in the end, the Pies won by 8. So Brisbane lead it by 17 points.
I just need to say something about that attack on the ball by the captain in Harris Andrews. If Charlie Cameron can have a crack at Archie, he should be getting on his bike now, going at Andrews and saying, you took your eyes off the football and didn't hit the ball flush on, and that's why Collingwood end up with the ball. It was quite extraordinary bad.
Lions with it on the wing. Hipwood chipping it over the top to Berry. Handball away to the former skipper in Zorko. Bursts away from them. Handball on towards Charlie Cameron, who's not spraying his teammates. He's trying to snap a kick away, and the Pies able to repel. Josh Dacos away to Maynard. Down the City wing go Collingwood. Long kick to a contest. Andrews comes up here and fists it away. Close to the boundary line. It'll stay in. Myself included, we thought it was out as Coleman floats a kick towards half forward. And the man described as the steak knives in their trade all of those years ago takes the mark. Crisp at halfback for the Pies.
Jack Crisp played a handful of games for the Brisbane Lions, and that delivery is beautiful by his left boot to Darcy Cameron, marking in front of Leicester.
He's doing very well, Cameron, around the ground, really stretching Brisbane right out.
From the City wing, he delivers on his right boot. McStay got caught behind, man in front, not quite paid the mark. Instead, he'll get the free, and that's Josh Dunkley. Stood his ground, closing late was McStay.
Yeah, good grab. Yeah, he's very good overhead, Josh Dunkley, but he knew the big key position players were coming, and he stood his ground and took a strong mark. Mark or free kick, either one.
Dunkley to the City wing. Hipwood goes up at it with one hand. Cameron to Lipinski. To Josh Dacos. In not much space at all, he gets his kick away. Almost McStay. but it won't be paid, and now a tackle's applied on Zorko. It won't be coming out of there. It'll be a ball up right on the 50. They're kicking to the northern side, northern end of the stadium, the Brisbane Lions in this second term.
Is Lipinski tagging anyone in the middle there? I'm just trying to watch him whether he's going to kneel or not. Or is Adams going to kneel?
On the restart, it's not coming out initially.
I think an Adams and Mitchell combination are trying to take Neil's body around the
Well, he's only one possession so far.
Ball up at half forward here for the Pies. Darcy Cameron wins the tap down, but Dunkley the clearance. High ball to half forward. Murphy gets back, takes the mark for the Pies, bundled over by Hipwood. Umpire says nothing doing.
Yeah, you've got to let him go. Hipwood's got to do something in this game.
Exactly. Murphy goes short to Markov. Pies across the defensive edge of the square. Short to Maynard. The stand-in skipper today into the middle of the ground. Jack Ginnivan takes the mark. He thinks about giving off the handball. He'll kick laterally. Josh Dacos kicks around the boundary. Mark taken by Adams. Pies slow and deliberate in their build-up. Now Adams looks inside 50. Dacos has run on. And he marks. 45 out. Hard up against the boundary line. At right half forward. You'd say it's normally beyond anyone. But maybe not a Dacos.
No, you're right, Benny.
Very good call. Good call.
I love the fact that Josh Dacos is always looking to get the footy.
Oh, he's just worked so hard.
He doesn't just concede and go, there's nothing on there. He just works to get it every time.
So Dacos will pull the trigger. It's a little narrow all of the way, even beyond a Dacos. On this occasion, a minor score, 16 points, Brisbane's advantage, 8.5 into the second.
Coleman to Zorko, all by foot. Now this is Berry. Short down the line. Well done by Noble, but he's got some assistance in there. McCluggage, you got the spoil on. Zorko has coughed it up, though, with his soccer kick. And he might win it again here. Another second soccer kick. Cameron's involved in the action. Bodies on the line. This is inside the centre square. They jump on in from everywhere. Oh, Maynard has just ripped Berry's shirt off. Devin Robertson it is, rather. So Robertson had tackled a pie right on the bottom there in Tom Mitchell. Maynard came in and grabbed his Guernsey.
Yeah, if you come over the top of it, that should always be a free kick because you're not going for the
Robertson
ball.
with his Guernsey hanging off his shoulders delivers to the top of the goal square. Danaher almost over his head. Incredible. He's kicked his second. At the top of the goal square. Right over the top of his left shoulder with that big left boot of his, straight through the middle. And they are out to a 22-point lead here, the Lions. 8-2-50, Collingwood 4-4-28. And meanwhile, Devin Robertson is somewhere out there with... he's got to come off, surely.
Yeah, it's wrong.
It's like a badge of honour, is it, Lingy, to stay out there with the torn...
Depends how good the ring's
I was going to
looking
say, I don't know what I'm allowed to say, but well, you know, he's 22 years of age and he's a very fit-looking man, put it that way.
I will say this, if it was me, I'd be sprinting to the bench just to find a new jumper.
And if you look like Devin Robertson...
Yeah, maybe just hang for a little bit, to spend some time out there. They'll eventually get you one.
Yeah, very good play by Danaher. He roved his own ball that he went for, tried to mark it.
Lions have kicked the last four to either side of quarter time. Darcy Cameron down to Josh Dacos. He's gone in the middle in this second term. Neil fighting after it. Can't extract it. Another ball up. Still out there. Dev Robertson. That off the shoulder number. Umpire puts it up. McInerney and Darcy Cameron. McInerney reaching over the top, slapping it down. Darcy Cameron soccers it on in the middle. Archie overruns it. Able to mop up Dunkley. Brisbane away with it. Bailey to Berry to Robertson. Now he's set upon. Spins out of one, tackle into another. Eventually gets free, but not before he's called holding the ball. And he throws his jumper away.
In disgust.
He didn't like it.
Shirts v skins at the moment.
He's got his shirt off and he's still out there. Short kick from Elliott to Pendlebury.
Yeah, if you want to get reported, now's the time to do it. They can't get your number. No, we used to talk about that, you know.
Pendlebury squares the kick. Maynard's got it. Just wedges the kick over the top to Tom Mitchell. And now the Brisbane Lions runner has gone out there to pick up the shirt.
Surely
the
he's
Guernsey.
Going to come off, surely.
So Mitchell from right in near the edge of the centre circle. Straight down he goes, off hands. Here's Bailey in the back pocket. An up and under job. And well done by Hipwood. He was surrounded by about 3 or 4 pies with the double fist, was able to spoil it over the boundary line. Now, no one has gone up to Dev Robertson and said you can't keep playing with no shirt on.
The umpire's about to. They're telling him here, you've got to go off.
Danaher's just given him the pat on the bottom, and now eventually the umpire... Well, he's refusing to go off. He wants to put the ripped to shreds Guernsey, the number 2, back on. Oh, it's a new one.
No, it's a newie.
Okay, so he's put the new one back on. Order is restored.
They would have to go downstairs, open up the big case and find another number 2.
Boundary throw in, half forward here for the Pies. Here's a chance for Mitchell on the boot. He delivers almost a mark taken by Harris Andrews, a one-hander. He gets the free instead against Myercheck.
Oh.
Now, you're not allowed to swap the player on the mark, and that's exactly what Myercheck did.
But I think the umpire realised he should have called play on to Andrews, and he's probably stuffed up, so let's just reset it, get it going again.
Andrews delivers, looking for McInerney. Off hands, here's Dunkley, an up and under handball. Murphy's got it, and he is gang tackled. Half forward for Collingwood, just a few metres away from the Brisbane Lions bench.
Umpire puts it up on the wing. McInerney laying it down on a platter there for Dunkley, but the Pies won't let him escape. We'll go again. Lions by 22.
It just feels that Collingwood have got a bit of control over it, but all the figures are still really even.
McInerney down for Neil, coming through Bailey. Murphy arrives. He's met solidly and again by Bailey. And another ball up outside the logo on the dockside wing.
Collingwood are actually getting little half chances to turn the ball over in dangerous parts, but Brisbane aren't letting them get that game going, that run going.
Darcy Cameron takes it out of the ruck, kicks it into Lipinski. It ricochets away and quickly held in. So a ball up, left half forward. It's been much tighter in this second term after 10 goals were kicked in the opening stanza.
This time McInerney wins it, and it's fisted away by Dunkley towards Robertson, and Berry's in there as well. Gee, we're going from stoppage to stoppage on this broadcast wing, the dockside wing. It's Brisbane by 22 points. So for the second consecutive week, can the Pies fight their way back from 22 points down and win the game? Oh. Here's a chance, beautifully done by Josh Dacos. Handballs out wide to McCreery. McCreery sets it up for McStay against his former team at double grabber directly in front. But out of the stoppage at half forward, it was Josh Dacos just weaving and driving his way through and setting up this passage of play beautifully.
Yeah, and completely lost Payne, was it?
Yeah, I think it's Payne almost gave it up in the end. I'm just trying to watch Payne. Once the Collingwood player led, that's McStay, Payne just stopped.
So he's kicked 2 goals in each game since returning. 5 games straight, 50. And he runs into the open goal and he sends it up onto the 3rd tier. So McStay with his first against his former team. And he's going to come to the bench. Low fives all round for him. The Magpie Army cheering his every step. Or was it 54?
Cal, I'm trying to work that out myself. I'm not exactly sure. I'm going to guess something to do with the mark.
Or did someone say so? I don't know.
Or was there dissent? Yeah, perhaps.
One of the Collingwood players, Lipinski, started clapping towards one of the players around the arc, so I'm assuming they said something.
Okay, well, that could be the only reason. It came completely out of the blue, and Dan McStay just went for it. He almost
wouldn't miss it.
Yeah.
The kick off the boot wasn't perfect.
No. A bit lax, wasn't it?
Still made the 3rd tier.
Yeah.
161 games over 9 years at the Brisbane Lions. Now at the Pies, snaps a run of 4 consecutive goals to Brisbane. Darcy Cameron taps it down. Dev Robertson in the new jumper, gives it off to Bailey. Inside 50 on the kick here for Brisbane. Ryan slaps it away for the Pies. Out towards halfback, going after it, Fletcher. Side bottom there with him. The old buck, the young buck and the old bull is what I'm trying to get at as they see it out for a throw in at left half forward. Brisbane by 16 points. A few good texts coming in. We'll get to those at half-time if we don't before. Darcy Cameron hooking it down. Onto it, Bailey for the Lions. Straight into a tackle. Crisp has got him. Umpire wants it. All up on the City wing. 8-2-50 Brisbane, Collingwood 5-4-34, 17 minutes into the second.
Clearances and contested possessions are round even. That's why this game right now is very even.
So a high ball kicked off the boot of the Brisbane Lions right up against the boundary line, and it was a free kick here going to Darcy Cameron. He's got it at half-back. He's been very impressive tonight up against the taller man in Oscar McInerney, although they're both listed, I noticed, at 204 centimetres in the stats. I'm not sure if that is correct.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it, Kel?
It is. I did notice that. The weight's a bit different. 110 kilograms McInerney and 103 kilograms for Darcy Cameron, but he certainly looks a lot shorter.
And I reckon Craig McRae's challenged Cameron at quarter time because McInerney was so influential in that first quarter. Darcy Cameron did kick a goal, but I reckon he's lifted just with his effort around the stoppages to not let McInerney get those clear hits.
Okay, so he gets a free, the big O, and he kicks backwards to McKenna, who's kicked sideways back to Darcy Cameron.
It's a terrible play by Brisbane. Everyone knew, he knew this is a McInerney, wanted to get rid of it, lay off a hand pass for a short kick. No one went near him. They just deserted him.
Cameron spears it. It was a little bit too hot for Taylor Adams to control. Quick hands there by Bailey, and again, oh, that's a dangerous tackle. Two pies on a Brisbane line. Pointer one side, Crisp the other, and the tackle was on Lachie Neale.
They're the ones I worry about, Kel.
Yeah.
I reckon Lachie Neale almost tried to lean his head down to draw a free kick there.
I agree with that.
He
Absolutely.
Get hurt.
Free kick going to McInerney. He gives the handball off to Lachie Neale. Lachie Neale delivers to his best mate in McCarthy, who's right in the centre square. Oh, that's a huge leap by Rayner at ground level. There's Archie. He's handballing to Hipwood, who missed the ball and instead went for the Magpies player in Murphy. Might be a tangle behind play. Still Archie's going. He's got two to his name. Lions fans thought he was taken high. Lipinski rips it from his grasp and hits up Myercheck on the chest at half-back. It's all happening out there. It's Brisbane by 16 points.
The debutant Ryan a little sore in back play. The kick up to the wing and the mark taken by McKenna for the Lions. McKenna will wheel around and kick around the dockside wing.
They're going to bring Ryan off with concussion worry, and they're just trying to guide him off now, not through play.
Is that concussion wing?
Yeah, I reckon the way in that marking contest, they're going to check him for it anyway.
Archie coming in from the side, a heavy landing. And he'll get a free kick.
Oh, I'm not sure about the free kick. Oh, no, there's no free kick there. He just went for a mark. I reckon Murphy's very, very stiff to give that free kick away.
Archie gives it off to Danaher, who will drive it long to full forward. Punched away by Darcy Cameron, loose footy in the pocket. McCluggage twisting, turning, giving to Rayner. He cuts a swathe through them and snaps it through. Rayner's second. And Brisbane have the answers at the moment. Before Mick Malthouse and Cameron Ling, Tim Hodges downstairs.
Yeah, so just watching Archie come towards us now, he looks very, very sore.
Lower back, Timmy.
Lower back, yeah. He can barely walk. Jacob Ryan is the main concern. He came off for Collingwood. He basically had to be helped down to the rooms. I would be staggered. It looked like he was seeing stars. I'd be staggered if we see him back. And as I speak, you see Mason Cox almost beginning a full warm-up here on the boundary line. So that's all happening. Yeah, that's not what Collingwood wants, is for Ryan to be out and have to bring Cox in so early. Archie, they've offered to take him down to the rooms. He doesn't want to, so I'll keep you updated with how he goes.
Yeah, they'll just work on his back there. He just landed on his back. He technically he should be okay.
Yeah, unless there's cracks of
That's
any
right.
sort. But, that'll just take time. Ryan looks like got a knee right in the head.
Brisbane by 2. It's socket out of the bullseye. Zorko gets there and he's in a wrestle with Crisp. It's going nowhere. It'll be a ball up on the edge of the centre square, favouring Collingwood's end, the northern end, in this second term.
Lingy, I've seen 3 50-50 balls turn into Collingwood's every time, for Brisbane players not working hard at the ball.
Danaher out of the ruck. His quick kick was picked off by Fletcher. Now Robertson getting involved. Handballing over to Zorko. Kicking to Hipwood. Inside the centre square. It's a low bullet, but Quayner's there filling the hole as McCarthy charged out. Isaac plugged the hole and took the defensive mark, and then is able to hit up his teammate Hoskin Elliott, who's got it at half-back.
Was that Eric Hipwood's first kick of the game?
Well, if it was a ripper. I mean, really, he should be practising a bit more.
Hoskin Elliott kicks up to the wing for the Pies. Mychek brings it down, follows up at ground level. Handball to Mitchell, handball away to Pendlebury, handball to Hoskin Elliott, handball to no one in particular. Here is Hipwood, he's wrapped up.
Wow.
Umpire will come in and ball it up on the logo. Hasn't been the Big Easy's night so far.
Well, let me say, I mean, that's as holding the ball as you ever get.
McStay taking it out of the ruck. Can't clear the congestion initially. Pendlebury out to Crisp. Pies away with it through Adams. Handball to Mitchell. To McCreary. Pies at half forward. He'll cut back and kick infield. Good kick to Pendlebury. Lateral again. Mark taken by Noble. He'll send it out to the City side. Side bottom. At right half forward. Nothing he likes initially. He continues to look inside 50.
So yeah, Andrews has been taken away by Ginnivan too. Very well played by Ginnivan.
He sets it up for Elliott.
Really well played, Ginnivan.
Jamie Elliott goes up and takes the mark. 20 out, as good as directly in front. Tim Hodges quickly.
The sub has been made. Jacob Ryan, what a horrible first half for him in football. He's out of this game with concussion. Mason Cox has been activated, about to come onto the ground now. Right now for Jack Ginnivan.
Kicked multiple goals in 7 of his last 8 games, Jamie Elliott. So often delivers when the Pies need him. 30 out directly in front. He does it again. Collingwood, as we so often say, they just won't go away tonight. It's back to 16 points. 9-2-56 plays 6-4-40. 23 and a half minutes into the second.
Great call, Mick, when you were describing how Jamie Elliott was able to take that mark, get a free run at the ball. So Jack Ginnivan led hard, really hard to steal side bottom into the pocket, which forced Harris Andrews to go with him, have to cover him, and then he stayed moving so that Andrews couldn't
go back.
He's covered now, I'll jump back long. Andrews kept engaging with Ginnivan out in the pocket. The kick goes to a dangerous part. Jamie Elliott gets a beautiful run at it. Harris Andrews spoils that if he's there, but he's not because of Jack Ginnivan.
Hodgie on the boundary.
Kelly, it's all happening here. Calamache, the physio said you have to run around the boundary to prove you're okay. He couldn't push off at all. It's his right hip. They've taken him down to the rooms. It's not looking good for the Lion.
Okay, restart in the centre. Here's Mason Cox into the action already. Pendlebury runs past him, picks up the Sharon, gives it to Chris. Beautiful sidestep. Kicks it inside 50. Mychek was in the good position, but the taller player, Harris Andrews, controlled the Sharon and then quickly hurried the kick away. It was a bouncing ball right near the boundary. It bounced just a centimetre away from Josh Dacos. He couldn't control it and it bounced over the boundary line. So it'll be a throw-in. Half forward here for the Pies. They've closed to within 16 points. Brisbane led by as much as 22. Cox into the ruck, in front position. He's dabbed down. Neil had it, lost it. Umpire says free kick holding against Mitchell. It'll be a free kick for Lachie Neale.
Mitchell's trying to take Lachie Neale at every stoppage if he can. Get just really physical with him, not let him get a free run at the footy. They're business partners, aren't they, those two?
Yeah, ball magnets.
As well.
Well, they've done well. He's done well because really he's hardly touched the football this quarter, Neil.
Not good for business if one's focusing on taking the other out of the play and their business is called ball magnets. Kick out to the wing from Coleman to Payne on the City side of the ground. Here for the Lions. Goes back to Starcevic at left half back. The Lions just happy to chip it around for the time being. Starcevic will go for a little run and kick long around the City wing towards a contest. Over the pack it goes. Free kick. It'll go the Lions' way.
Yeah, they're undermanned on the back line, Collingwood. Smaller players, so they're using a lot more of their body on the taller players.
So Rayner goes short.
McInerney's dragged Mason Cox really deep. Deepest player for the Lions.
Way to Cameron, who moves it on to McCluggage. 2 kicks from home. He'll set it up. A high ball inside 50. They'll run and jump at it. Dunkley underneath the football. Pinballs around, tried to come through. Hipwood leaves it behind. Cox into the play. He loses it. Lions back with it in the pocket. Now they're stripped of it. Rayner loses it. Dacos momentarily. Zorko gets involved. Free kick. holding the footy. It'll go to the Pies in the right back pocket. Brisbane by 16, closing in on half-time.
Somehow Mason Cox ended up with it. He didn't know the tackle.
He wouldn't know how to tackle in 100 years.
So Cox gives it off to Noble, who delivers long. And too long, in fact. It's out of bounds on the full.
Well, with Cox coming on it now, it allows McStay to actually stay as a forward because he is dangerous up there. When Cameron goes off, McStay inevitably has to come up onto the ball. So at least under those circumstances, it will work in Collingwood's favour.
Boundary throw in fact, City side. Still side bottom. Picks it up, traps it, gives it to Mitchell. Too hot though. Stolen in there by Wilmot, who was doing some fierce work at ground level. Delivers long. Charlie Cameron rises. Waiting down is Rayner with the dribbler. And it crashes into the goal post. Well, he tried to dribble that through from that left forward pocket. A difficult angle. And he almost got it there. It's Brisbane by 17.
And now the Pies pulling their slingshot. Quickly out towards the dockside wing. Free kick to McCreery. Appeals for 50 metres. As Berry just getting into the protected area. McCreery on the logo. Drives it inside 50 for the Pies. Coleman at the back. There to mop up onto his right. A little lax with the kick. Trying to find Dunkley. He's able to gather. Releases McKenna with the handball. Flicks one back inside to Wilmot, who now gives it to Berry in a heap of space down the wing. He'll kick towards Zorko. Over his head. And the Pies are there through Maynard. Away to Noble, to Markov, to Crisp, to Lipinski. All through hands. Now Noble. Bullet-like pass. And the mark taken by Myercheck. 51 out.
It was just the wrong option Brisbane took going forward. I think it was short to Zorko in a 50-50 lead. If you turn it over there, Collingwood just fly back through and they were able to link up and do it perfectly. Nice lead up to Myercheck. That kick has to go deeper.
Clock ticking down. Has he got it in him?
Yes, he has.
He wheels around from inside the centre square. Unloads. It's out to the right. Only a minor score. It'll be 16 points at the half. That'll be the final act of the opening half on Friday Night Football. A top-of-the-table clash. First versus second. And it will be the Lions 9-3-57, leading Collingwood 6-5-41. The goal kickers 4-2 for Brisbane. Danaher, Archie, who's off sore. Cam Rayner with a couple. Charlie Cameron the same. Zach Bailey with one. While for Collingwood, all singles. Jamie Elliott, Josh Dacos, John Noble, McStay, Darcy Cameron and Jack Ginnivan. Our experts, Mick Malthouse, the coaching games record holder, and Cameron Ling, our premiership captain on Grandstand AFL.
Well, Mick, for a quarter where it felt like Brisbane were really getting on top and getting their game rolling at times, they didn't end up extending their lead by much. Collingwood still just kept finding ways to pinch a goal, and any time there was a little turnover created, they were able to slice through pretty well. It's still pretty evenly poised. I know Brisbane have got the 16-point lead at half-time, but I think Brisbane have thrown some pretty good shots at Collingwood.
Yeah.
But Collingwood aren't far enough back yet for Brisbane to be thinking we've got total control here.
No, not at all. Because you just know that if Collingwood can get that ball in their forward line remotely on their terms, there's so many dangerous plays. I'm surprised that Myercheck just can go back and just kick a normal kick at the goal, because he's a 55 to 60 metre kick, and that's all he needed in that kick. And you've got Elliott up there, and as we said about Ginnivan, there's a lot of things about him that are good and some that aren't so good, but his thought process got that goal for Elliott. There's no question about that. Hoskin Elliott's another player that needs to pick up and get in the game one way or the other through his marking or possessions. I'm not sure, I'm not sold on Adams as a half forward. I know he plays there and he comes up on the ball, but I still think you're right, Lingy. The fact that they're still within under 3 goals, and the remarkable thing about that quarter for me was the lack of inside 50s by both sides. It was 10 to 11, so there was a lot of football played in the middle of the ground, which is very much not Collingwood-like, because Collingwood like to use the corridor and just go whoosh, throw the ball into that forward line. Brisbane are a little bit the same way. They would be looking at players like Hipwood and going, "What? You've come off the bus. We'll just assume that you didn't go out in the ground. So now put your gear on and start to think about getting out in the ground, because quite frankly, he must have been in the cheer squad behind. He's done absolutely nothing.
Which must be frustrating if you're Chris Fagan sitting in the coach's box, because you've got Joe Danaher, who is at least looking threatening and playing a role. You've got Charlie Cameron, who hasn't had heaps of the footy, but still kicked 2 goals and took that superb mark. And I'm going back to pre-game, Mick, when you and I were talking about Cam Rayner.
Yep.
That half of football is the reason why we get a bit excited, also / why we also have high expectations of Cam Rayner.
That's right.
11 touches, 2 goals, launching at the footy, ball hits the ground, dangerous at ground level, really dangerous with his snaps and his movement in that forward line. That version of Cam Rayner is one that you think could take the competition by storm one day. But then you think, if you're Fagan and the Brisbane Lions coaches, well, come on, Eric, why can't we
all do it together
as well?
The frustrating. This is why I know I'm on Brisbane's back. I really like Chris Fagan as a bloke. I just think he's fantastic, and the Fly too. But I just think he must be thinking, when am I against one of the better sides, not against the duds, and there's a few around. When am I going to get my forward line to be relative to one another? In other words, if it's going to be Danaher, well, why can't it be all? Because they don't get in each other's way. That's one of the good things. Hipwood and he do not get in each other's way. When is Rayner going to kick 5 for me because he's good enough? We know Charlie Cameron has done that. When's my midfield going to kick goals? And I mean, with 4 or 5 midfields, when are they going to kick 4 or 5 goals for the game? Because this is an opportunity against a side, and we know we've already spoken about how many Collingwood players are out of the side. I don't take that too. I don't get caught up with who's out of the side. It's who's in the side that you concentrate on. But on the other side of the coin, Collingwood are also, they're not free of sin. When you analyse a few of their players, like, okay, Cox has just come on. Murphy's okay. Frampton's doing a job. Frampton's doing a good job because he's hardly touched the football. Howe is lost. He's lost at the moment. I'm not saying they're getting beaten in the back line, but maybe, and knowing the way Craig McRae coaches, he's just as likely to go, no, listen, here, you go back there, and we'll bring Frampton up and see how he goes to centre forward as working. So they've got that availability, but he really is, mind you, the ball hasn't gone in there in great shape. The other ball, McStay's done just enough. Elliott, always dangerous. Sidebomb's another one. Got possessions, but not damaging possessions at the moment. No. Pendlebury's got possessions, got to kick the goal, but not damaging at the moment.
The difference between first quarter, second quarter, Mick, with Collingwood in the middle of the ground, they moved Josh Dacos to the inside.
Yes.
Found a heap of the footy, and he's kicked the 1 goal in the game. Also, they sent Tom Mitchell to Lachie Neale around the stoppages, and not a hard tag around the grounds, but he's your responsibility at the stoppages. Don't let him get those dangerous on the move clearances that Lachie Neale can get. He did a pretty good job.
Oh, he did a really good job.
And limited Lachie Neale's influence there. It's what happens next, though, from the stoppage. If you have Tom Mitchell there, and you have Scott Pendlebury, and you have Taylor Adams, and you have they
can't spread.
They can't spread. Josh Dacos can. Absolutely
fantastic.
He can. But if you have Mitchell in, and you have Dacos in, and you have Pendlebury in, Adams in, it pushes Jack Crisp, who's one of their other runners, to either half-back or out to the wing.
Yeah.
So just that spread away from the stoppage is going to be important for Collingwood to find in the second half.
Just a couple of texts that are rolling in here at halftime, and this one's caught my eye. From Anthony in Wild Dog Valley. Am I right in sensing a Lingy and Mick bromance? I think so.
We've got along great ever since we've worked together.
I wish they'd hurry up and stop talking. We got Mick's chocolate cake out the back for half time.
I've long had a theory on this. I think it is because Mick, very defensive coach, you value defence and beat your man first. A tagger. It just stands to reason, doesn't it? A quite defensively minded player.
Do you know that my last time I coached Collingwood, the effort he had? So do you really reckon I like him that much?
Yeah, that's true.
I've got a text here. They're coming through thick and fast as well. We saw Lingy, you mentioned Braden Maynard ripped off Dev Robertson's Guernsey during that quarter, and he was running around shirtless there for a while. Sharon from Adelaide's given us a text. Happy birthday, Mick. Love your work. Listening to the Pies and Brizzy game, I think they should all play topless.
That's footy training. You usually have the shirts and skins.
Oh, right, okay. Well, I never did that.
I was
when
a
we were playing,
political
but
animal
anyway.
at making sure I was on shirt, Slingy.
Yes, I was very good at that too.
Andy in Bendigo says, tonight we see how much Brisbane actually want it. If they can't get up tonight, I don't think they're real contenders.
That's good. That's pretty good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, really spot on.
Astute from Andy.
Yeah.
We've got astute listeners.
There's not many from Bendigo. Like that. A hell of a lot from Ballarat. What a good place from Ballarat. Let's get one in from Ballarat that makes sense.
A few more. Fran from Melbourne says, hi team, enjoying the call and wondering, is it a good sign for the Lions playing here in Melbourne at Marvel, or would it be a different story if the game was at the G? Well, they do have a good record here.
They do have a very good one, don't they, Benny? But we know the G one, but if they win tonight and they get Gabba finals, qualifying and pre-league final, they may only need to win one game at the MCG.
Exactly.
Boy,
that'll be enough.
That'll be a big threat on grand final week, wouldn't
They
it?
finished second twice before. I'll give you the stats a little later. But out was it 2019, 2020, both times finished second. Out in straight sets in 2019. And in 2020, they won their first one, lost their next two, lost the prelim.
Maybe they'll be like Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide were knocking on the door for a long time in the early 2000s, and then 2004. It all finally came to pass.
Can I just say, my sister lives in Brisbane. It's her birthday today, and she's a one-eyed Brisbane supporter, so she will be really enjoying this match.
Lots of birthdays around the same time in the Malthouse clan.
There's only two of us.
Well, as a kid, you didn't get to sort of celebrate your birthday for very long, didn't you? It
No,
was one day and then bang, your sisters.
We like texts like this too. Simon in the York Peninsula. You can. We like the flattery. Enjoying the insightful and entertaining commentary. Best in the AFL. Wouldn't think many in yellow in All-Australian mix today. They do name All-Australian umpires. They did last year, I think, for the very first time.
Did they?
I'm fairly sure they did, because I remember seeing the photo of the umpires in there with the players.
Can I say that the All-Australian Selection Committee for the players do not name the umpires?
Yep.
That must be done by someone else.
Maybe.
Come on, Mick wants the chocolate cake.
Yeah, time for the chocolate cake. Send in your birthday wishes to Mick on the SMS line 0437 774 774. That's 0437 774 774. The Brisbane Lions leading by 16 points at the main break. 9-3-57 plays 6-5-41. Let's pause on Grandstand AFL and get the latest from the ABC newsroom.
ABC News with Glenn Lauder. One person's died and two others have been rescued after a serious boating accident north of Perth. Dorina Zadverna reports.
Police say the three men were friends and they set off on a fishing trip when they came across some trouble in the water and their boat capsized. Now, they were stranded for 2 hours before a member of the public on another fishing vessel came across them. A report will be prepared for the coroner as police investigate exactly how this tragedy occurred.
The Minister for Skills and Training says he's not surprised that there have been concerns from within the Labor Party on the AUKUS Pact after the agreement was formally included in the party's policy platform. Brendan O'Connor was the Shadow Defence Minister when he first shared his support for the agreement and was one of the first senior Labor figures to do so. Speaking following day 2 of the Labor Party's national conference, Mr O'Connor says after deliberation, the conference overwhelmingly supported the pact.
Am I surprised that people raise concerns or issues around this initiative? No, I'm not surprised. And they have every right to raise questions about the initiative. But ultimately, given the passionate response by the Prime Minister and others, it was clear to me that the conference was going to support the AUKUS initiative.
There are warnings that China has extraordinary capability to gather intelligence on Australian military operations. Commercial space data obtained by the ABC reveals Beijing deployed over 300 satellites over Australia during recent joint training exercises with the United States and other regional partners. International Relations Professor Andrew O'Neill from the Australian Catholic University says it's difficult to block information being collected by them.
In a kind of peacetime scenario, those precautions are limited. In a wartime scenario, I think what the US would certainly be aiming at, as are the Chinese, who have demonstrated an anti-satellite capability. So the ability to knock out satellites of the enemy in the initial stages of a conflict.
Hundreds of veterans and their families gathered at the Vietnam War Memorial in Canberra today to mark 50 years since the end of Australia's involvement in the conflict. With the story, here's Harry Frost.
60,000 Australian personnel were involved in the conflict, with 523 killed and 3,000 wounded. There was strong anti-war sentiment amongst the Australian public at the time, and many veterans didn't receive the welcome home or support they'd hoped for. But despite today's cold and wet conditions, hundreds attended to pay their respects and ensure the sacrifice of those who didn't return home isn't forgotten.
And if you're a veteran or serving member and you and your family need help, you can call Open Arms on 1800 011 046. An environmental legal service has launched a lawsuit in response to the offshore regulator's approval of seismic blasting at Woodside's Scarborough gas project. The Environmental Defenders Office alleges Woodside didn't properly consult with traditional owners before gaining NOPSEMA's approval. EDO counsel Claire Lockwood says if Woodside does proceed with blasting, it could face legal challenges.
It would be extraordinary for Woodside to proceed with the activities in the circumstances when there is a lawsuit on foot. Nonetheless, if that is what they indicate that they will do, our client will take all legal options available to her to protect her sea country and ensure she has the right to consultation.
State and territory governments are being urged to do more to gear up for the bushfire season, with warnings wet weather in recent years could lead to fires on a scale never seen before. Extended periods of rain have meant prolific growth of grass that fuels fires once the bushfire season arrives. Peter Dunn from the Emergency Leaders for Climate Action is nervous about the upcoming summer.
So there's massive build-up of grass and we've seen massive regrowth in the bush. Now that's fantastic after the Black Summer fires. We can celebrate that, but on the other hand, we must also be terribly cautious that these fine fuels can dry out very quickly and ignite very quickly and generate massive fires.
And more than 20 additional flights are due to take place today as part of the operation to evacuate the Canadian city of Yellowknife amid the threat of fires. People have been trying to escape by road and air since the evacuation order was issued on Wednesday as the fire advanced towards the city. Northwest Territories Fire Information Officer Mike Westwick says the next 2 days will be critical.
We expect to see northwest winds to west-northwest winds over the next 2 days. Those are winds that will trend both of those fires in directions that we don't want. In terms of how much the fire has grown today, we're doing some assessments on that right now as the peak burning day comes to a close, but it is expected to have moved slightly towards Yellowknife.
That's the latest from ABC News. For more at any time, you can download the ABC Listen app.
Hey, it's Declan and Lavender from Sport and Spice, where the chat is well seasoned.
Spicy even. Every week we keep you in the loop with the juiciest and most important and sometimes most ridiculous sports stories around.
We also chat to plenty of amazing athletes along the way.
I actually got kicked out of school last year.
But down here it is a real fight with rugby league and AFL.
I mean, I'm a bit worried. I don't want to cop it too much.
And I think if you're not a part of it, you should have FOMO. Sport and Spice. Find it on the ABC Listen app or in the podcast store under the Best of ABC Sport.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Mark taken by Zorko at half forward, looks towards full forward, wants Cameron. Charlie flying through the sky, comes in and pokes it through. Charlie's got a couple.
Delivers to the top of the goal square. Danaher almost over his head. Incredible. He's kicked his second. Handball's out wide to McCreery. McCreery sets it up for McStay against his former team at double grabber directly in front. 50, and he runs into the open goal and he sends it up onto the third tier. So McStay with his first against his former team.
Punched away by Darcy Cameron, loose footy in the pocket. McCluggage twisting, turning, giving to Rayner. He cuts a sway through them and snaps it through. Rayner's second, and Brisbane have the answers at the moment.
The sub has been made. Jacob Ryan, what a horrible first half for him in football. He's out of this game with concussion.
He sets it up for Elliott.
Really well played.
Jamie Elliott goes up and takes the mark. So often delivers when the Pies need him. 30 out directly in front. He does it again. Collingwood, as we so often say, they just won't go away tonight.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
So it is Brisbane leading by 16 points at the main change. Both teams out there warming up for the second half at the moment. I've lost the majority of my co-commentators to the chocolate cake for Mick's birthday, but Cameron Ling is still here. What did you think, Ling? Was it any good?
It's only because I've already scoffed my piece down, Benny, and I'm sitting here with you. Very nice. Mick's getting best wishes from everyone here. Mind you, I think it's mainly because they're all thinking if they're nice enough to Mick, they're going to score a bit of cake.
Yep.
I think we've been sharing, haven't we?
Yeah.
Sharing's caring.
We've shared with some of the other teams. We sympathise towards them.
I think
Brad Johnson sniffed it out. He came from about 2 commentary boxes down.
Jono's always welcome.
Smiling assassin.
Nathan Brown next door. He
We've got
sniffed
all
it
the
out.
boxes and they're all looking at Kel going, please, give us some cake. Corby, it's been a wonderful hit. Thank you so very much. We've actually kept you a bit, mate, so if we're back here next week, I'm sure
it'll be a week old.
It's there for you.
I look after my mates. I've said I'm going to look after Tim Hodges and save a piece for him. And I'll drop by and drop one off for Corby on the way home because he's missed out.
He doesn't talk highly of you. Jimmy, he's your mate.
He's no orphan there.
Did you?
There's plenty of them, Mick.
Mick, did you tell us before the break your sister's a Brisbane Lions fan? And it's her birthday today.
She's a Michael Malthouse fan, but she's a Brisbane fan. When I was coaching, she was my. But she's a Brisbane.
Okay,
yeah.
So a bit awkward in 02 and 03 for her, but she was barracking for you.
Yeah, but how could I win? I mean, we had the team at the win, so she was celebrating.
Very hard to get a word in on Friday night footy here with this team. We haven't spoken about Brodie Grundy, but we will post-game. I omitted again. Simon
Who's
Goodwin
come in for him?
Backed him yesterday. I'll have to check that. Let's go downstairs to Tim Hodges.
Guys, you can look down at the bench here. Callum Archie, they've been trying probably for 35 to 40 minutes to try and get that back going. It's a right hip. You can see he's just got his hand resting on his hip. He just can't get it going. So they're going to have to make a choice at some point that if they can't get him back out there, they have to make the substitution. So that's from that really heavy landing on the half-forward flank late in the second quarter.
Yeah, the trouble is with a landing like that, it can throw your hips out and lock your back up and just everything jams up. Bit of a spasm as well. So that's going to be really uncomfortable for him. Looking forward to this third quarter, though. This is a good contest.
Brisbane up by 16 points. Top of the ladder contest, Mason Cox wins it in the ruck. He was the sub that came on. But it's the kick from Dunkley and a high ball, and Hipwood with a bit of separation on his opponent in Murphy has taken a mark. 50 out directly in front.
That's when you leave that forward line open like that, where you can run into it and not have it cluttered up. You only got 6 down there, let's face it, so you can organise yourself. Then you can run onto that. That's a good clearance, very good clearance. Get the ball in as quick as you can with a 6-6-6.
So he's just ticked over 35 seconds and he's on the runway. Hipwood to make it a 22-point lead. The left footer sends it to the northern in goals. It curls in right at the last minute. And he celebrates with a fist pump. And the Brisbane line cheers for it behind those northern goals. Goes up at 1. The flags are waving and that lead is out by 22 points once again. 10-3-63, Collingwood 6-5-41.
We spoke about him at half-time and the fact that he had a pretty ordinary first half. Chris Fagan would have just had a word to him, and just an encouraging word, I'm sure, but one, we need you to keep presenting up. And that one at the centre bounce, he was on the move, he was in front first to move, the ball dropped a little bit short, took the mark and nailed it nicely with the kick. I love the work of McInerney on the goal line there. He just made sure that Mason Cox was no threat to jump and touch that ball there. That's the little 1% things that are important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's all about those one percenters linking right across the ground. You don't know, it just means so much to teams.
On an 11-game goal streak now, Eric Hipwood will play his 150th next week, all things remaining equal. Collingwood with the clearance through Adams after Mitchell wins it, kicks to half-forward, Coleman.
Oh, that's a good mark.
Juggling it, going back, he takes the mark.
I talked to Greg Swan about him as saying, how come? It's unbelievable how good he is, this kid.
Kicks out to the wing, and Hoskin Elliott in his milestone match coming across to chop it off, a throw-in on the wing.
Yeah, Mick, with Coleman, he's always been a really good runner, smooth mover, and uses the ball really well. Yeah. But what we just saw there is the thing he's added to his game. One-on-one, defensively, just outstanding at holding his ground and winning those.
Oscar McInerney on the bounce, just punches it forward. Danaher comes up and wins it for the Lions. Handball to McCluggage, handball forward. Pendlebury and Fletcher coming up. McCarthy able to win it for Brisbane. His handball swatted away by Markov, and now Neil with it here for the Lions.
Standing start, assesses the options, not the best option. It was put into space, but easy pickings for Frampton, although his kick sideways has put Murphy under the pump.
It's a push in the back.
Lost it, was a push in the back from Hipwood, and now Hipwood's sitting on the footy and got to be careful. He might get pinged. The umpire says it'll be a ball up in the right forward pocket at the northern end.
I know, just because Murphy didn't fall over.
That was from the back,
But
you're
it's
right.
just a push in the back. You've got to pay though.
Yeah, one of his arms was right in his back.
McInerney and Mason Cox now in the ruck. Cox reaches up, straight down the throat of a Brisbane Lion who gave it over the top to Charlie Cameron. It was Bailey that took it. Quick hands to Cameron. He ran into a brick wall, Josh Dacos, and the boundary line. He stepped over that, so it'll be a boundary throw-in. 30 metres around, not even that, 20 metres around from Brisbane's goal. Twirling ball back in. Cox reaches up. Hoskin Elliott on all fours, trying to Fossick around, but he can't force it out, so it'll be a ball up this time. Ben Cameron.
Lions out by 22. 3 times they've got out to that lead, have never burst through it. Collingwood in their back pocket, win the footy. Here's Josh Dacos on his left, kicking around the city wing, trying to find a marker. Footy hits the deck, suckering it off the deck. There is Coleman to McCluggage, who gives it back to Coleman. Kicks the Lions inside 50. Danaher, Frampton right there with him. Spoils it away. Live footy, won by the Lions again. Hipwood kicks inside 50. Can't find a target. Spills to Cameron. Charlie, swivel, snaps and goals. A third from Charlie. And the Lions are out by a game high 28 points. 4.5 minutes into the third. 11-3, 69 plays, 6-5, 41. Mick Malthouse, Cameron Ling.
Look, I thought about Cameron. Sometimes you get annoyed at him because he just doesn't get himself in the game. But there's only one way to beat him. You just got to stop him getting the ball.
Yeah.
He is so quick and understands where the ball's going to fall. Like Quaynard was in his rights to go with everything that Quaynard did then. Was legitimately good as a back pocket, but then lost a half yard on his man, just a half yard, and then all of a sudden he's over the ball and he's lost it.
Because he had to go. He had to go and help it with Devon Robertson. And you're right, it was only half a yard.
Brings up his half century for the year. 50 goals for Charlie Cameron. And there's a scrimmage right in the bullseye. Comes out the way of Lockie Neal. His handball was flicked down by Pendlebury. Neal goes again. Picks it up. This time he's giving it straight to Pendlebury. Pendlebury handballs to Adams. Sharp, short kick to Howe outside 50. A bouncing ball. He has to meet it on the bounce. This is a chance for him to send it inside 50 for Ginnivan, rather. And Ginnivan might have mucked it up. Howe's got it in the right forward pocket. It's an up and under. It's going to land in the goal square. Still a chance. Here's Jamie Elliott.
Always call for a
throw.
throw.
It was a throw from Zorko. Zorko with a throw backwards to McKenna, who was right on the goal line, and Jamie Elliott will have a set shot on the edge of the goal square in the right forward pocket.
Yeah, Dane Zorko just flicked up. He tried to tap it back to McKenna, as you called, but he got under it. As soon as the umpire sees that ball lift up off the ground, they're going to pay it.
Yep.
So to eat into the biggest margin of the night so far, it currently hovers on 28 points. To drag it back to 22 points. Elliott, can he cash in from right in front? In the right forward pocket, yes, he drills it. Jamie's got 2. Brisbane by 22. 11-3-69, Collingwood 7-5-47. And it's 6 minutes gone in the third.
You know, Mick, how just different things just really, really excite certain people in parts of football. For me, the midfield craft is something I constantly look at. And watching back here in the middle of the ground, 2 absolute elite geniuses at midfield craft, in close craft. Lockie Neal and Scotty Pendlebury involved there, where Neal won it. Pendlebury got a hand in. Then Pendlebury won it. Neal pinched it off him. And eventually, it was Scotty Pendlebury who, on the third or fourth turn, got it off him, got it forward, and away they go, Pies. They were both brilliant in their own craft to keep winning the ball and keep creating an opportunity for each other's team.
Well, look, the tactics have got me here because I'm looking at...
Cox in the ruck, wins it down to Pendlebury, Pies out of the middle, into the pocket, McStay! He's able to bring down the mark, deep in the left forward pocket, straight out of the centre, bounce down from Collingwood.
Gee, that's a good mark.
Very good mark. I'm just going to say about the ruck work, Cox is in it against McInerney so that Cameron can come on against Danaher. It's danger time for Adelaide, for Brisbane at the stoppages.
Wrong side for a left footer, acute angle, the former Lion, now in black and white. Collingwood come again and bring it back to 16 points. McStay second, 11-3-69 Brisbane. Collingwood 8-5-53, Tim Hodges.
You can just see Calamarchi, they tried to get him going. Once they got him going and showed he could run, then they've strapped, basically, it's like a pillow to his back, just underneath his number 4. Then they've put strapping all around right around his belly to keep it, to stick there. And then they've sent him back out there. So he doesn't look anywhere near right, but they're rolling the dice, and I guess he was so important in that first half, they need him out there.
Well, he was fantastic. I'm just watching now the intrigue about this ruck work, because Cameron will go onto the ball in a minute, and McInerney's going to have to either stay out there or they're going to slaughter Danaher in the ruck.
So it's Cox against McInerney. McInerney tried to put it straight down the throat of Lachie Neale. Mason Cox's big toe got involved, and it flicks out, spills the way of Still Sidebottom, sends the kick inside 50, and that has come off the boot of McKenna out of bounds on the fault.
Yeah, it's a poor kick.
Free kick for Still Sidebottom. Listen to the army. Gaining voice. Short he goes.
Gee, Pendlebury's had an influence in the last 5 minutes.
Incredible. He delivers to Pendlebury.
This will be second kick, second hand pass.
He says, I'm going long. The left footer from right on 50 pulls it at the last minute into space. Howell's there. Howell's got it.
Great kick.
Howell juggled it to the ground. But it was the kick from Pendlebury into space. It dropped short. And he was basically chatting to Howell to say, you come forward into the space and take the mark, and that's what he did.
Great kick, great mark, but what
defense.
on earth were the Brisbane defenders doing?
Yeah, and not only that, another spoil that just wasn't a spoil.
Nothing.
It was a tennis shot. Very, very poor work at the moment. Yeah, it was just a wave at the ball.
So Jeremy Howe lining up. 3 in a row for the Magpies. And they've come alive early stages of this third. It's back to a 10-point ball game. 11-3-69. The Lions are stuck. Collingwood coming with a rush. 9-5-59.
Well, a lot is the clearance. 5-2. This is the first time the Pies have actually been dominating or winning. And I'll say dominating the stoppages, because the first goal came out from Dunkley to Hipwood. And from there on in, it's been Pendlebury, I think. That's cleared the ball, and as a consequence, Collingwood kicked the 3 goals. So again, these clearances are so vital. I can't understand why wingers don't stand further back defensively and see if they can cover that back corner.
Brisbane have left the door ajar, and Collingwood might be about to walk right on through. They've kicked the last 3 goals of the game. Cox wins the tap down. Robertson tackled quickly, eventually bursts free, gets it off to McInerney, and now spiked on here by Robertson. Coming up though, Noble keeps it in front of himself, follows up to Lipinski, almost a throw. Now the Pies, they're dashing through the middle. Crisp to Pendlebury again, just gliding, delivering, and Howe's marking. 40 out, Plum in front. The Collingwood slingshot off halfback.
Yeah, that's where, and you're spot on. That's a good call. That's how it is. It's a slingshot, and once they get involved, their numbers almost play within a metre of each other. So it's great support. So you can attack the bloke with the football, but he only needs to give it a half-metre hand pass, which Chris did that to Pendlebury. who's sort of killing them at the moment.
The Pies swingman swung forward last few weeks. He's got 2 in a couple of minutes. And the Pies are black and white hot beneath the lid at Docklands. It's back to 4 points in the blink of an eye. 11-3-69 plays 10-5-65. Mick Malthouse, Cameron Ling.
Mick, when they win it off half-back and they run like that, it is like the old-fashioned training drill three-man weave. And they do it's more a five-man weave because they run in such a wave. And when they go at speed and they link up, the opposition are caught in a, do I go to him? Which one do I grab? And by the time they've made a decision, they're gone. They're past them, and they were out completely. They were all over them. And I know we said it before, Scotty Pendlebury has been unbelievable in this third quarter.
They don't go sideways, do they? They just go straight. They just go straight into that 50-metre line.
4 goals in 9 minutes, and it's back to a 4-point ball game. Brisbane scrapping and fighting. McCluggage is in there, and so too Dunkley. They can't clear it. It'll be a secondary ball up on the edge of the bullseye. It's Cox and McInerney. Down to side bottom, can't pick it up. Pendlebury does, handballs out, but it bobbles around before McCluggage can pick it up and just drives the kick right on 50, going back with a flight recklessly was Murphy. He's so brave. A high kick off the boot of Frampton's been picked off by Robertson. From half forward, he's in two minds. He's in trouble. He's about to be caught by Hoskin Elliott. Gets the handball off to McKenna. Goes into the pocket. Big fly by a couple of players. McCluggage has got it. Gives it off to Bailey. And Bailey snaps the goal. So Bailey with the finishing touches in the goal square. It was a real scramble. And it's back out by 10 points. And a much-needed goal for Brisbane to steady. 12-3-75. Collingwood 10-5-65. After 14 gone in the third term. Let's get down to Tim Hodges for the latest.
Calamachi, we said before they rolled the dice, he just had to be helped off the ground. He is no good, and the substitution has already been made. And Jared Lyons is out there on the field already. So Archie sitting with the doctor, and that's going to be a watch for them because he is in a really bad way with the lower back and right hip. That's his main concern after that horrible crash landing in the second term.
Flight home tomorrow won't be much fun, will it?
No, they'll play like that. This is what a lot of people don't understand about clubs that travel interstate. You're at the airport, you get 2 hours on the plane. In Western Australia, it was three or 4 hours. It takes such a toll on the body.
Brisbane with a much-needed steadier. Adams kick out of the middle, smothered away, and now Brisbane swarm onto it. Neal, handball away to Danaher, through the bullseye. Long kick to full forward. Murphy spoils it away. Noble's there to mop it up. Price come away with it through Frampton. His kick, a turnover. Straight to Robertson. He marks for the Lions. Gives it off at half forward. Berry sidesteps an opponent. Pulls the trigger and misses. Away to the left. Out by 11 points, the Lions.
Full house in for this one tonight. There are fans right up in the very last row, tucked under the closed roof here at Docklands. Maynard on the kick in, looking for Cameron, had to beat a couple of pies. It comes down to Lockie Neal, who wheels around Jamie Elliott and delivers beautifully to Lyons. The sub, straight into the action, straight to Link McCarthy.
He's paid it as a mark.
He grabbed it and it was knocked straight out of his hands.
Yep. No, sorry.
Okay.
I thought it was immediate, the spoil on it, but you're right, Mick, on the replay.
No, I'm with you. We needed the replay on that because that was so quick. He had the ball, for those that aren't watching it, the ball was kicked about chest high. He took the ball in his hands
Big kick
as he was in the air.
For McCarthy. He's a step or two in from the boundary line in the left forward pocket at the northern end. He's been accurate so far. 22-9 for the season. Does it float back enough? It does. It looked like it was going to miss to the left. But at the last minute, it curved out to the right. And they've hit back with 2 quick ones, the Brisbane Lions. And this is a seesawing, gripping affair. Brisbane by 17, 13-4, 82. Collingwood 10-5, 65.
It's the peculiarity of that side of the ground, that end of the ground. You actually have to aim at that left goalpost and be prepared to flirt with thinking you're going to hit that post, because I don't know if it's because there's opening at ground level or whatever it is on the level 1.
It's going to be a hard sell to people, isn't it?
Yeah, I know, it's weird.
It's against your whole grain.
Yeah, you just get that little drift from that pocket. It happens so
You
often.
get a drift.
You do.
Where's the drift coming
Well, there
from?
must be a gate down there somewhere.
We're in a closed bubble.
A gentle breeze must
the third
waft
story
through level
toilet.
1.
The door opens up.
Bounce in the middle, hooked on by Danaher. 4 goals apiece in this third term.
Next minute you'll tell me to bring the sunnies because, it's so sunny under here.
No, a colleague of mine on the TV broadcast calls that one the slider pocket, and it genuinely is. You got to aim for that left goalpost.
Darcy Cameron wins the tap. Adams knocks it on. Mitchell, left foot kick inside 50. Andrews in the way for the Lions. Defensive mark, kicks laterally out to Fletcher.
Can I just say now, this is Joe Danaher's moment. If he can match Cameron in the ruck, good luck. That'll be good for Brisbane. But if he doesn't, look out.
Lions down the city wing. Kitty Coleman chipping it short. Here's Zorko waiting a kick. McCluggage. High right half forward, trying to pinpoint it inside 50. Can't spot up Rayner. Crisp gets back. Gets it out. Quaynor's tackled immediately. Taken to ground in the right forward pocket for the Lions. They've got the recent momentum. Kicked the first 2 of this third term. Collingwood kicked the next 4. They've kicked the last 2 out by 17, the Lions.
And here's a chance because it was Danaher in the ruck, but Lions got it and had a quick snap in that right forward pocket. He missed.
It was Cameron who got the ball easily in the ruck.
So Brisbane by 18 points. Kick in from the Pies. Frampton's got the kick-in duties. Has a dash. He kicks, looking for Myercheck. Strong mark after Berry came over the top of his shoulder.
I love the way he comes up from the forward line up through the wing to take these kicks, because I just know he's so strong in the air.
So he's got it at half-back, Myercheck. He tries to go in through the corridor looking for Mitchell. Wilmot was good right up over the top. Now there's a loose ball on this broadcast wing. Taken high was Lions by Adams. Lions doesn't waste any time. Gives it off to McKenna. That awkward-looking kicking style out in front of Hipwood. Oh, did he have his arms chopped? It was Frampton and Hipwood. Umpire didn't blow his whistle. Now Murphy, the underground handball might come unstuck. Murphy has to go
Silly
again.
by Hipwood. He got frustrated and just gave away the free kick.
Yeah, when the ball was alive.
Yeah, it was a threat there. You've got to put your frustration away.
So Frampton gets a second crack at it this time. He goes high. Danaher's there, so too Cameron. Clears the pack. McStay keeps it in, but he's handballed straight to McKenna, who's been tackled by Elliott.
I'm not going to argue with that one.
Deliberate.
That's a Josh Dunkley standing in the interchange area.
It might have been clever, though. He hand passed it to his bench. They wouldn't give it back, and it's held up the Pies.
Yep. McKenna handballed straight out of bounds. And Jamie Elliott says, thanks, I'll take that free kick. That's a strong mark by Harris Andrews, the co-captain for the Brisbane Lions in front of Cameron.
So he's in the ruck, drifting down. Where's Danaher? So he's trying to take Danaher forward, is he?
Andrews is going to kick to the dockside wing. Murphy sets himself, goes hard. Oh, he's been tunnelled by Rayner. That'll be sore for Murphy. He's tough, though. Another tough guy, Maynard, gets involved and kicks to the 50, and Myercheck's taken the mark. Wonderful mark in a 2-on-2 contest over the top of Payne. And then short, he goes to Lipinski. Now, this is a tight angle for Lipinski, and he's going to kick a little closer to Adams, but he's on an even tighter angle.
Yeah, Cam Rayner in that marking just got to the point where he just mistimed his run at the last second, realised and took out Murphy.
Warm applause for Murphy, who's coming off a little sore. We'll get down to Hodgie shortly, but in the meantime, Adams in the right forward pocket. 1, 2, 3 steps, can't curl it back enough. A high kick, but an inaccurate kick, and it's Brisbane by 17 with 8 to play in the third. Quickly down to Hodgie in the front row, Tim Hodges.
This is so similar to Calamachi. Nathan Murphy came off the ground and has gone straight down to the rooms. He's having to be helped down the race to get to the rooms. He is a very, very sore boy.
Very, very similar to that Archie incident, as Hodgie mentioned. Short kick from the Lions in the back pocket. And they're pretty content to just chip it around for the time being. Andrews in the left back pocket. He'll kick for Zorko. Able to take the mark. Under a little bit of pressure from Frampton. Now he'll wheel around. Down the dockside wing he goes. Sends it long. Cameron and Quaynor. Quainer with a hand on it, brings it to ground. Live footy, follows up at ground level, tries to burst away with it. Rayner's got him. Says you're not going anywhere. An important tackle.
Well, they've missed a few tackles, Brisbane. That is a ripping tackle. Quainar's had some pace up and he's a strong lad.
Ball up, left half forward. Here, an incredible mark by Lipinski. Cameron taking it out of the ruck, a clearing kick.
Oh, no, it's cool. Touched off the boot, unfortunately. Deserved a mark.
They controlled it one-handed, sticky fingers. Umpire says no, ball up on the wing.
Side bottom wins a free. He was taken high against Lockie Neal. Pies fans like it. They're riding every whistle at the moment, every decision made by the men in yellow.
I love what Darcy Cameron's doing.
Oh, absolutely.
Side bottom to centre half forward he goes. Oh, my check again, getting involved. Umpire does blow a whistle. It was too high. It's a free kick for Brodie Myercheck.
Look, it's so predictable. This is great coaching by McRae to alternate the two ruckmen and knowing full well that Joe Danaher is going to be on the ball and doesn't defend. You know, I'm just on a crack at Danaher, but he's not a ruckman and he's certainly not a key back. So this is really good work.
Myercheck hasn't kicked a goal tonight, but he's taken plenty of strong contested marks directly in front. 55 out, just steps over that centre square. On target! A monster! A magnificent monster! And the black and white celebrate. Flags flying. Scarves are flying. And they eat into that margin. It's back to 11 points. Brisbane clinging onto that lead. 13-5, 83. Collingwood 11-6, 72.
Lingy, a shootout. This is a shootout. Who wins? I mean, really, because we're seeing very little top-line defence. We're seeing a lot of mistakes made in the back half and a comprehensive I get it or you get it in the middle. Yes. So who wins in the shootout?
I mean, again, pre-game I said Brisbane to win it because I just think they're a little deeper at the moment than Collingwood, given who Collingwood are missing, and I'm probably going to stick with that, Mick, but when you see the way Collingwood can move the ball off half-back, it makes me nervous to say that.
Collingwood have got to 108 times this year, won all of them. Brisbane have got there 9 times and won 8 of them. Both teams on track to get into triple figures tonight in this shootout.
It's the race to the century. 83 plays 72.
Ball up in the middle. McInerney slapping it down. Zorko for the lines. Away to Bailey out of the middle. Left foot kick towards Hipwood. Bursting onto it. 49 and a half metres out.
Braden Maynard ran about 5 steps over the mark. The umpire was onto him. Worth a shot at it.
He's brought him back a good 5 metres and he's being very diligent, Braden Maynard, at making sure Hipwood's on the angle.
Yeah, and
he doesn't shut up, does he, Mike?
Nah, I love it. Staying in the game, trying to get that extra metre.
Yep.
Such a competitor.
Good Hampton boy.
Eric Hipwood hasn't had his best night. Kicked the first goal of this second half. The big easy from right on 50. Drives it long and strong through the middle. 2 for Eric Hipwood. It floated a little bit like a wounded duck, but it got there.
That's really good, Ben.
Out by 17, the Brisbane Lions. They continue to have the answers. Mick Malthouse, Cameron Ling.
How would you describe that kick? That is actually, no, you've described it perfectly, Benny. It was ugly, but he struck it with enough that it went the distance. I was watching Braden Maynard, though, on the mark, Mick. He was getting really frustrated, apart from the initial bit where he tried to crib a little bit and then he wanted to set on the angle. The umpire was really late calling play on.
Yeah, I reckon once the player takes off the mark, he should just automatically assume that you're allowed to do it.
Yeah, I agree.
Tim Hodges.
This is a developing story here. Lincoln McCarthy's come off. He's having ice put onto his calf, so the Lions are going to be a man down here. They've already made their sub with Archie out. And it's worth just backing over. Nathan Murphy remains in the Magpie rooms, and Jacob Ryan is also down there with concussion.
Cox palms it down. Pendlebury got the kick away, gave it straight to Fletcher. Fletcher then used Lockie Neal, and then a high up and under ball, and Ginnivan gets there first. Pies are going forward through Elliott. The handball over to Mitchell. He didn't hear the footsteps coming. He's gone. Wonderful tackle by Kitty Coleman.
He's impressive. I love the way Coleman goes about it. And Brisbane say that he's not consistent. That's why they drop him out. But he just gives them something different on that half-back line.
Gee, they were in another foray forward, the Pies, and that was felt like a goal-saving tackle. As McCluggage is tackled on the City wing, it'll be a ball up. And it's Mason Cox and Oscar McInerney in the ruck.
They'll be happy to get Danaher a breather through that midfield now.
So Cox just fists it up in the air, and when it lands down, Lachie Neale gets it, and three Pies get him.
It's a different game, fortunately, because in a bygone era, Lachie Neale was unconscious there. No. That is one of the worst feelings when you're going back and that ball's up above your eyes and you're wide open to a player coming at you.
Yeah, they do tend to look after one another.
No,
you're
so
right,
much
you're right,
better.
they end up in the third tier.
Yeah, that's an awful position to be in as a midfielder.
Cox taps it down onto it. Lachie Neale, though. He'll try and kick into the middle, and it will work out for the Lions. So McCreary comes up and does really well. Fights after it with Robertson. Sockers to his own advantage. Wilmot beelines it. Comes up, gathers the footy. McCreary's tackled him. Spills out to Elliott. Handball to Quaynor. It's coming back.
Yeah, I reckon they've called this for a dangerous tackle. It's a Wilmot.
Yeah, Wilmot will get the free kick.
She was a late call.
Oh, McCreary like an Energizer bunny. Lions with it at halfback. The kick for Coleman. Coming Dacos off the bench.
They're going to pay a free kick too.
Oh, another free kick. The Pies fans will hate this.
I'll tell you what, they'll have to look at that with Wilmot, you know. He's a bit shaky. And
the doctors are trying to get out there, aren't they, Mick?
Yeah, McCreary's in trouble for that dangerous tackle.
Oh, absolutely is.
Yep. So Coleman sends it long, and Hoskin Elliott in his 200th.
How can Hoskin Elliott in a one-on-one outmark Hipwood? How can he possibly, giving away a foot and a half?
17 centimetres and about 12 kilos.
So he kicks at Dacos. Dacos looks for Mason Cox, and Mason wins the free. The American gives it off quickly to the buzzing Jamie Elliott, the creator, into Ginnivan in the pocket. Oh, that's a wonderful smother. Brilliant by Charlie Cameron. I'm not sure what he's doing all the way back there. He's got a big grin on his face, but Ginnivan thought he was just going to be able to gobble this, and Charlie Cameron with a spoil, the old-fashioned knuckle over the boundary line.
Brilliant. He'd be pumped. That's probably the first spoil in the defensive 50 Charlie's career.
Got lost. Spread the board upside down. Thought they were going the other way. As tapping it down, here is Cox to Pendlebury. Onto the right, snapping. It'll float. He's hit the fat part of the ball, and it's landed in the lap of Myercheck.
He's in good form, Myercheck. It's not the fact he's only kicked one goal. It's how many marks he's taken. He's everywhere at the moment. He's causing, and what he's doing, the reliable defenders of Brisbane, he's stretching them right out.
Brodie Myercheck on the left. He's missing narrow. Back to 16 points. They're just hanging around, staying alive on a Friday night. Collingwood 30 minutes into the third.
2.5 minutes to play before three-quarter time. McKenna brings it back into play, drives looking for Danaher. Coming in from the side was Dunkley. Still side bottom takes it, kicks, missing out of bounds on the full.
And Mick, in a game that's got really low mark numbers, Brodie Myercheck's taken the most marks in the game.
Yeah, that does not surprise me.
So Payne might have coughed it up here. His kick looking for Dunkley. Was over his head, but there to mop up. Rayner to Lyons. An awkward-looking kick, and this time Hipwood outmarks his direct opponent in Quaynor. He's too far out to score. Quaynor's asking, can I go? Can I go? The man on the mark. Umpire says no, and it means that Hipwood's able to hit up the big O in the left forward pocket.
Cox is 35 metres away from him. These are the problems you have with ruckmen that don't follow up. And Cameron does. Cox doesn't, and he's paid a penalty. And well done to McInerney, who found some space. Cox cannot run up and down the corridor. You must cover your man.
So he's got it out wide, so wide, in fact, he's on the boundary. He steps over 50, steps over the boundary line. McInerney on its way, but across the face and through for a minor score. So that margin is 17 points. Brisbane hold the lead. They led by 12 at quarter time, by 16 at a half time. Got out by 28. But the Pies really alive in this third term.
Josh Dacos with the kick in, trying to find it They find McStay, who in the end just knocks it on and tumbles out of play. A throw in on the wing. Big news for Brisbane. Just if Wilmot is a little groggy, obviously, as Hodgie reported.
Is he on the ground still?
He's still out there at the moment.
Yeah, they get tested now for a while.
Might be okay. Thrown on the wing. Cox underhanding it down straight to Dunkley. Has to turn tackler and does so. Ball up. Tim Hodges.
Ben, we watched the Lions doctor. I'm just sitting right behind them. They looked at that incident. They looked at it multiple times, and they didn't bother going out to see Darcy Wilmot. So I'm not sure if that helps Bo McCreary, but he hasn't come off the ground at all for a HIA or anything to be checked.
Oh, McInerney down to Neil, who spins out of trouble. Eyes the goals, drills it on target. Hoskin Elliott, Inspector Gadget Arms, getting back and fisting it away right on the last line. It might have been Hipwood, in fact, trying to mark it. So out by 18.
And the kick in has been spoiled over the line by McKenna. Now, I had my eyes on that, on Lockie Neal at that stoppage, Cameron Lee. And he was lined up against Pendlebury, who was scragging and trying to stop him. A little pirouette and a spin, and he was able to pick it up and go.
It is superb to watch. You're going to study tape of midfield stoppage craft. There's Pendlebury getting one now. Both of them are unbelievable.
Aren't they? So he's got it off the hand of Mason Cox. Goes to Josh Dacos to a 2-on-2. Over the head of Cameron. Waiting at the back is McStay. Puts it on the boot. Here's a chance for Meyer. Check! Wonderful mark at the top of the goal square. Outmarking Payne in a one-on-one. He had the run. He had the sit. And boy, he has got hands like super glue.
Yeah, and again, it started from Pendlebury, though, in the stoppage. Just broke the game open, and then a really important contest by McStay. Followed up, kept it in, and what a grab by Myercheck.
This will be a savage blow for the Brisbane Lions, who led by as much as 28 earlier this term. But the Army's full of voice, and the Lions have got a pep in their step. And the margin is just 12 points now at three-quarter time. Collingwood closing late, 12-7-79. Myercheck with his second. And Brisbane with the lead, 14-7-91. The scene is set. Friday night footy, round 23. It's top of the table. Collingwood playing for that minor premiership. And the Brisbane Lions win tonight, and they can just about secure that top two finish. The double chance, and of course, more importantly, that home qualifying final. A thrilling final term coming up. Let's get down to Tim Hodges with all the news from the bench, because there's plenty happening, Hodgie.
There's so much, Kelly. It's unbelievable. Now, the good news for Collingwood, so Nathan Murphy is back from the rooms, and he looks fine to return to the field in this final term. The bad news is that Jacob Ryan, the debutant, remains in the rooms. Apparently he's very sick and sore and sorry after that concussion. So just a horrible first game for him. He's got his family down in the rooms, but we still haven't seen him on the sideline since. The bad news for the Lions, now Lincoln McCarthy is out of this game. He's got ice on that left calf, so that's going to be a watch to get him back for finals. And we know Callum Archie has been subbed out of this game, and he's walking around like a 70-year-old out there, Mick. So he is very...
He's really sprightly, is that what you're saying?
Brilliant, Hodgie, brilliant.
The man that turned 70 yesterday, Tim Hodges, spent all night on the dance floor.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah.
But, Callum Archie is very sore and sorry. I mean, that's going to be a long flight home. He's going to be, I imagine, up icing all night. That's just after that crash landing in the second term. So McCarthy and Archie out for the Lions, and we know that the debutant out for the Pies, but Nathan Murphy is returning.
They may very well take Archie and have x-rays just in case there is a crack or something in that back, and therefore stay in Melbourne for a few days. I mean, if you're going to miss next week, you may as well miss it comfortably.
I'll tell you what, Mick, I've never seen it before that they had to get permission, because normally the substitute has to sit on the back seat of the bench, and they were saying he actually can't. The way he's hit, he needs his hip almost straight, his leg straight, because his hip's so sore. So he's actually got permission to sit on the front row of the bench, because he's just in that much pain that he can't sit on the back seat. So Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a watch. And then McCarthy, you think if he's done that calf, that's going to be a race just to be back for any stage of September.
Yeah, and he's a dangerous forward, but just getting back to Archie, he'd probably be better off going downstairs, honestly, laying down and just keeping the heat or ice or whatever they want to do on it. Because, I mean, there's no heroics. You've got to get the best of your troops up.
So the goal kickers through to three-quarter time. Charlie Cameron with 3, 2 to Joe Danaher, 2 to Archie, 2 to Rayner, 2 to Hipwood, 2 to Bailey. Then for Collingwood, 2 to Elliott, 2 to McStay, 2 to Howe and Myercheck. Singles to Ginnivan, Cameron, Noble and Dacos. I think the Pies would be saying we've got them right where we want them. Down at three-quarter time by 12. This is Grandstand AFL.
There's a bigger picture to be found, a wider viewpoint. There's more than one side to every story, and you'll find so much more with ABC News Online. Around the world and from wherever you are, get a bigger picture of the stories that matter to you with explainers, live blogs and analysis. Your news, your way, every day from Australia's most trusted news source. Download the ABC News app or head to ABC News Online. Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Hipwood kicks inside 50, can't find a target, spills to Cameron. Charlie, swivel, snaps and goals. A third from Charlie.
The left footer from right on 50 pulls it at the last minute into space. Howell's there. Howell's got it.
Great kick.
So Jeremy Howe lining up. 3 in a row for the Magpies, and they've come alive early stages of this third.
To Pendlebury again, just gliding, delivering, and Howe's marking. 40 out, Plum in front. The Collingwood slingshot, top halfback, Pies swingman, swung forward. Last few weeks, he's got 2 in a couple of minutes, and the Pies are black and white hot. Beneath the lid at Docklands.
Goes into the pocket. Big fly by a couple of players. McCluggage has got it. Gives it on to Bailey. And Bailey snaps the goal.
Away to Bailey out of the middle. Left foot kick towards Hipwood. Bursting onto it. The big easy from right on 50. Drives it long and strong through the middle.
This is a developing story here. Lincoln McCarthy's come off. He's having ice put onto his calf, so the Lions are going to be a man down here. They've already made their sub with Archie out.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
And now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
The Brisbane Lions leading by 12 points at three-quarter time. Win tonight, and they'll be well on their way to a top 2 finish and 2 home finals in September. But Collingwood, they're the great closers of the AFL. 9 times this year they've trailed at three-quarter time. They've won 5 of them. Can they do it again? Can they close tonight on Brisbane and win from 12 points down at three-quarter time?
How many was that, Benny? 5?
9 times they've trailed at three-quarter time. 5
just
they've
over
won.
50%. Yeah. Well, look, this is, I just saying the linking off there, this is a case of where does the leadership start and finish with Brisbane? We know where it is at Collingwood. So if Brisbane get good leadership, they'll win. If they don't, then Collingwood will take it off them.
Trying to solidify second spot, the Brisbane Lions, and win 2 home finals. They lead by 12 points. Final term underway. Cox follows up, punches it forward, unable to get it on the boot. Wilmot out to the logo on the wing it goes. They all fight after it. No one can come away with it. Dunkley's bundled over and a ball up on the wing. In fact, a free kick. It'll go to the Pies and Adams. Adams will kick inside, attacking 50. Andrews comes up, leads out of the footy, takes the defensive mark. He'll kick short to Zorko. Lions inside the defensive 50. Short to McCluggage.
Look at McInerney
kicks
working
into
him
the middle
over.
of the
Well
ground.
done, Mason Cox.
Great defensive effort. Closes late and spoils. Quainer applies the tackle. Pies away with the footy. McCreary, big don't argue. Bursts away with it. Short for Howe, misses the target. Hits the deck, the footy. Adams paddles it out to Howe. Handball to Mitchell. Handball onto Elliott. Robertson there with him. Out to Mitchell again. Sweeps the handball back to Crisp, the former Lion. Off a step, he drives it long. Last line. Lester marks for the Lions. And they'll hold on for now. They lead by 12.
Last line of defence, he goes short to Starcevic, over the top to Leicester, marking in front of side bottom. Still deep in the defensive 50 at the northern end. With the exiting kick, he goes long, looking for Hipwood, who got rid of Maynard and then takes a nice mark. Wants to go in the corridor, and he does to Zorko. It opens up, handballs to McCluggage. He's got time for them to call towards him. He kicks towards Charlie Cameron, lost his balance, regained his balance, and got a bit of separation on Quaynor and marked it.
Well, good call, Cal, because he fell over and got back. He's that quick. He fell over and got back up again and still managed to mark it.
Was that McCluggage, the kick? It was a beautiful kick. Yeah. To advantage side and almost force Cameron to come at the footy to mark it. Yep. The other one, to his credit, Eric Hipwood's kick into the middle of the ground.
Beautiful.
Brilliant. Just opened up all the play.
So to go from end to end to start this last term. Charlie Cameron to the southern end. He celebrates it before the Sharon even crosses the line. Charlie's got 4. He booted 6 back in round 4 when they beat the Pies at the Gabba, and he's threatening to rip them apart here in this final term. It's back out by 18 points. Early stages of the final quarter. Brisbane 15-7-97, Collingwood 12-7-79.
One of the things we've been talking about is how quick Collingwood moved the ball. When Brisbane moved that ball then, there was only 2 Collingwood players and 2 Brisbane players in the front 50. And that means that you've got acres to work in, and the kick was beautiful. So that's that movement. And, you know, we've been hot on Hipwood, but Lingy, you're spot on. That kick was the creator of that, and the play on caught Collingwood out because they're so aggressive in their back half.
Bounce back in the middle. Cox and McInerney. Cox goes up early, wins the tap. Pendlebury can't gather it. Sockers it out to Josh Dacos. Collingwood away with the footy. Sweeping handball. Chopped off by Neil for the Lions. Handball back to Wilmot. His kick a turnover. Straight to Mitchell. Pies with it. At half forward. Adams to Josh Dacos. Looks at the goals. Sends it on target. Touched on the line. Great effort. Diving low down. Darcy Wilmot, or Payne it was. A desperate effort. A goal-saving effort. And it just keeps Collingwood at bay for now.
It was like those big fast bowlers trying to stop a boundary, that, wasn't it? A big man trying to get down low, and he did really well. So Brisbane clear it to the City side.
Out on the full, Collingwood ball, good pressure. Against the kick.
Robertson thought he had it. Well, he tried to pretend he had it. But instead it'll be Oleg Markov, City side wing. You see something. It's not the best kick. Almost landed in the lap of McStay, waiting at the back. Hurried kick out of there was from Wilmot, bit of fancy footwork, and then Markov.
Holding the man's good.
Yeah, well, that's a good decision, that. You've got to be subtle with that. You cannot hold and make it so, especially when the ball's out in the open like that.
So Markov took the mark, but it's now been reversed. It's going back to Jared Lyons, the sub, and he kicks, and it's forced to spoil was Danaher. Straight down to Zorko, bouncing ball inside 50. Here's Quaynor and Charlie running through his Hipwood. He takes as a bounce. He takes on Quaynor, is brave, but it pays off. And Eric electrifying in this second half. After a quiet first half, he's booted 3.
The frustration's building with Collingwood fans, I think, after that. Holding the man free kick, which we reckon was there.
Oh, it's there.
But Danaher, Joe Danaher's spoil, though, was high, I thought. Oh, gee, there's not much in that free kick, though, is there, Nick? Is there enough, you reckon?
I reckon, because slow motion sometimes doesn't allow you to... What I saw initially, I thought, well, he's grabbed him.
Was the stopping of
he just couldn't get to it. Yeah, he just couldn't get to it.
What about the 11-point swing? Nearly a goal for Josh Dacos. Great effort from Payne. Yeah. And then down the other end, they kick a goal.
And what about the pace of Hipwood? I mean, he could have easily hand passed across to Cameron.
He's lifted in the second half, hasn't he?
Absolutely has. Yeah.
Lions crossed 100 for a 10th time this year. They've won 8 of the previous 9. The only one that lost to Melbourne, where they blew it late. Mitchell, handball over his head to Crisp. Quick kick inside 50. Myercheck in front. He marks 47 metres out.
Did the right thing, had a look. Mychek got back quickly, had a look. Now, nothing on, take the responsibility.
He's very good
he's
for
good from here. Yeah.
Andrews has cribbed forward 3 metres here. The umpire, I think he's trying to pull him back. He's going to leave him on the arc.
This Andrews, feeding for a bloke who's supposed to be that great, he just gives that much room.
Mychek trying to ignite the climb back. The long kick will go right to the line and touched on the line.
Is it Payne again?
I want to see this.
Touched right on the line. It is Payne again. And Andrews pinched 3 metres there, which made all of the difference.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about 3 metres.
At least 2.5 metres.
Here go the lines, streaming through the centre. A quick hurry kick out of the defensive 50. Breaking clear is Rayner. He broke a couple of tail tackles to Bailey. And then off to Coleman. Beautiful delivery in the pocket. Oh, it's dropped at the right last minute. It was an absolute sitter by Dunkley. Good pressure by Noble. And Collingwood retreats. Now they kick it out wide to the city side. It's a turnover. Lyons this time delivers to Dunkley. He found a little bit of space after the craziness of the last passage forward. Collingwood defenders scrambling for their man. And Dunkley will have a set shot. Tight angle, left forward pocket, southern end.
If we've got enough time here, I've got a question for you, Cal. Are they able to review that Jackson Payne touch down the other end of the ground being a score?
Yeah, they have to.
I thought every score was reviewed, or is it just every goal? It's a good question.
No, I think it's all reviewed.
I know it wasn't called, they didn't call for the review, but can they do a soft review?
Dunkley, 1-2 steps, curls, too far across. Down, so it's Brisbane by 23 points, Tim Hodges.
Kel, Nathan Murphy has officially been put a line through him. He's done for the night from that heavy tunnelling, the heavy landing. They tried to get him back out there. He was just a liability down back, so he is out for the night. So both teams are man down.
Eddie Coleman able to mark on the wing. The Lions back with the footy. Coleman will just set it up to the pocket, looking for Joe to mark it. He does.
Yeah, that's a height factor now.
Yeah, no
more
Murphy into the game, and Murphy out, and that was Markov he was up against. He was always going to mark that.
You know what they have to do, Ling? You're going to have to bring back Howe.
Yeah, good call. Go smaller in that forward line.
Yeah, go smaller. Yep. And stretch Brisbane.
Brisbane looking to put it to bed early and not risk Collingwood's late closing. Danaher on the set shot, threads the eye of the needle. Danaher's third. And Brisbane may well have done enough. They're out by 29 points. 17-8, 110. Plays 12-9-81. 9 minutes and change into the final term. They kicked the first 3 goals of it.
It's remarkable, isn't it, that so often over the last few years when Brisbane have been a good team, set shot goal kicking has hurt them in big moments, in big games, and so often. They have kicked superbly tonight for goal at 17 goals 8. Yeah. That is a terrific set shot by Joe Danaher. They're in control of this one, and it's the time of the game where Collingwood, as good a team as they are, and they're going to keep coming because that's the way they play, they don't have that extra bit of motivation where they know pretty much where they're going to finish.
First and second, they've got a home final.
Yeah.
So MCG home final.
So they don't have to find that extra little bit, whereas Brisbane, everything's on the line to win this one.
And they're going to take it out of the centre again. Bursting forward. A couple of kicks that went astray here for Collingwood. Lipinski went without it. Oh, Charlie Cameron. Beautiful handball. Then a clash of heads. He's gone down behind play. He got it over to his teammate Zorko, who centres it. And Bailey's taken the mark. But the clash of heads behind play was between Fletcher and Charlie Cameron. And they both went down like 9 pins. And they're both quickly up on their feet, which is good to see.
Yeah, and that's what's going to happen. Players do not want to show, guess what, I'm a bit sore in the head, or I've caught one.
So Zach Bailey, the noted goal kicker, tonight he's got 2. Not much angle. 30 metres out. To make it 3 for the night. And to put it just about beyond doubt, he misses. So that's 17-9, 111.
Pies will still come. No mistake about it.
81. There's 12 and a half minutes to go, and their premiership coach says they can still do it. The Pies trailing by 30 points.
Even the most ardent believers, though, are starting to wonder they'd need one soon. They kick up towards the wing. Out the back, Guinea. Jack Ginnivan comes away with the footy. Handball to Crisp. Handball to Steele. Sweeps it forward for Howe. He paddles it out towards Lipinski. Gathers himself. Handball to Steele. Handball forward to Mitchell. Handball to the runner Lipinski. Pies it half forward. Pulls a kick back centrally. Wilmot's back there. Gathers for the Lions. And just heaves a kick to safety of the wing. And now the Lions are away down the wing.
And they're away with the speedy Coleman, who puts it out in front of Maynard v. Charlie Cameron. Oh, Maynard got him! He got him all right. Not many can catch Charlie Cameron at full speed. And as a result of the tackle of Sharon, no one was watching the ball. It dribbled over the boundary line. It'll be a boundary throw-in.
And you know, Cameron patted Maynard on the back.
And he said,
isn't that great?
Play.
Isn't that great sportsmanship?
Absolutely. So boundary throw in. Now here goes Brisbane. Ginnivan comes involved. Scrap. Edge of the centre square stuff. Tangle of arms and legs. It'll be thrown up.
When you don't know how to give up.
Oh, there it is. There's the replay. When they both jumped up, Mick.
Yeah, when they both jumped up. When teams don't know how to give up, they'll keep going. And Collingwood don't know how to give up. I know I've been harping on it, but it's just the way they play.
And Maynard, of course, setting the tone as the acting captain tonight. Great smother by Cox. Now Ginnivan off to Dacos. His kick, though, has hit Jack Payne all alone at the top of the defensive goal square back there.
You learn that, don't you?
Yeah.
Your Geelong side was like that.
Yeah,
you know how not to give up.
Quick couple of kicks, and then it's Starcevic with the handball to Zorko. Zorko kicks out wide to McCluggage. All uncontested. Beautiful kick finds Wilmot. Wilmot's delivery looking for Danaher on Frampton. It just went over his head. He was backing back in that left forward pocket. It'll be a boundary throw-in deep in the attacking zone of Brisbane. Brisbane lead it by 30 points. There's 10 and a bit minutes to go, but you can never write off these never say die Pies.
The issue's just the sand slipping through the hourglass. Both rucks miss it. Free kick. It'll go to the Pies and Cameron. Darcy Cameron in the back pocket. Gives off the handball to Quaynor. Wants to kick out towards the wing. Trying to get it to Hoskin Elliott. Hipwood contests. Brings it down. Lions win it at half forward. Robertson. Handball back to Berry. Handball to Robertson again. He'll pull a kick to the hot spot. Looking for Joe. Frampton swats it away. Pies there through Maynard. Handball to Hoskin Elliott. Now to Crisp. Handball trying to get back to Maynard. Under pressure, can only slap it on. Now Crisp under pressure. Handball for Lipinski. Handball for Mitchell. Shovels out a handball and the Lions are there through Bailey. Zorko almost throws it out. Berry now for the Lions. Clever tap Coleman. Out to Zorko. Now Hipwood at half forward. He'll pull a kick towards full forward. Rayner. Can't quite at the former Cluggage. Handball in the forward pocket to Jasper Fletcher. The famous Brisbane name. Snaps it through. And the Lions now have surely done enough. 18-9, 117 to 12-9, 81. And they've put themselves in the box seat to get onto the front row of the grid for September. Mick Malthouse, Cameron Ling.
What a great contest by Cam Rayner in the air, wasn't it, Mick?
It was, yeah.
I know he had a good run at it, but it was still Darcy Cameron, the ruckman, and he had to launch at it. Nearly took the mark, but created the crumb. And Jasper Fletcher, he's just had so much composure for someone still so early on in his career. It's only game number 10. And I loved it with Fletcher tonight, Mick. The first quarter, I think he tried to take tacklers on and realised very, very quickly, I'm playing one against one of the really good teams, the mature teams. I can't break tackles. And he adapted his game. He got rid of the ball a little bit quicker, but he stayed involved, stayed positive. He's had a terrific game for a young player.
6-goal margin now. 9 and a bit minutes to play. It's been 4-2 kicked by Brisbane to 2 behinds to Collingwood in this last term. So Cox and Big Oscar McInerney go out of it in the ruck, but it's been a free that's been plucked away from the ruck, and that goes to McCluggage. He's got it on the defensive side of that circle, centre circle, drives it long. Frampton with the tackle. Quaynard's got the ball, and then Charlie Cameron's tackling him. And then Charlie gives out another slap on the back to Quaynard after he slapped Maynard on the back for his big tackle on him only a few moments ago.
Umpire puts it up. Cox knocks it down straight to Dunkley. It spits out to Danaher. Quick kick. The Pies are there through McStay at fullback. Handball away to Lipinski. Ball won't sit for him. Bailey closes. Handball back to McStay. Handball onto side bottom. Clever little punch on. It's been that kind of night as Quaynor watches it bounce out. Throw in left half forward for the Lions. Lead by 36. Nearly 17 minutes into the fourth. They've kicked 4 goals to none in this final term.
55 out it is. Danaher's in the goal square. Frampton alongside of him. And is that off the boot of McCluggage on the full? Umpire says no, it just snuck in. So boundary throw in, same spot. 55 out from Brisbane's goal, going to the southern end of Docklands. Spinning ball back in play. Cox and McInerney. McInerney front position down to Lockie Neal. Stolen by Cox, who kicks around the corner. Back to Neal. Handballs to the standing start of McInerney. Just gets boot to ball. Oh, Bailey, quick hands. Off to the run of Neal. Dabs it towards goal. And then it's McStay at full back in that last line of defence that takes the mark and wants to move it quickly to Frampton. He takes off, a little unsure what he's doing. Just blazes away. Oh, Ginnivan put his body on the line. Coming the other way was Starcevic. It was a good 50-50 contest in the air. And in the end, they tackle each other. It'll be a ball up.
Great work, both players. This is going to be... Oh, no, Jared Berry just threw the ball at the Collingwood player.
Maynard, I think.
Ball up on the wing. McInerney arriving late. Takes it out of the ruck, but gives it away to Chris. Pies quickly back the other way. Handball to McCreary. Running through half forward. Centering his kick. Great kick. Outside of the boot. Almost kicking it at right angles to the direction he was running at.
He's been hanging around those Dacos boys for too long.
I'll tell you one thing. I'd like to put a Charlie Cameron and McCready next to each other and go, OK, as soon as the quickest over 20, then 40, there'd be nothing in it.
He burst away then, didn't he?
He got some pace.
Big Mace. Started as the sub tonight to maybe just keep the faintest flicker for the Pies. He drills it through the middle. His first of the night. 18-9-117 Brisbane. Collingwood 13-9-87. 5 goals neat. Brisbane's lead. 19 minutes into the fourth.
Lingy, did Cox get a game in the best side? I know who's out. We know who's out, but like he was part of the best side for a long time. Either him or Johnson. Johnson seems to have fallen right out of favour.
No, because I believe in their very, very best team. Dan McStay
will double ruck.
Yeah, we'll do the work in the ruck. Better option up forward. So I think
McStay's in the side.
Out. Yeah.
So bring it. So Bobby Hill maybe for Ginnivan, maybe. That's a maybe.
Obviously, DeGoey, Moore, Nick Dacos, certainties. So yeah, still. I mean, so many to add. I don't think so with Cox.
Ginnivan 7 disposals tonight and a goal. 7 and a bit minutes to play. And Pies need goals and they need them quickly. Side bottom looking for but couldn't quite find McStay right on the 50. It was spoilt over.
Now he's contested that and he's run straight behind the ball McStay, which is very interesting given that they've got to kick 5 goals to win this game.
Yeah, I reckon they're trying to release someone, just release their runners. McStay's going to take someone and release running half-backs.
McInerney in the ruck. Fletcher went at it once or twice, couldn't get it, and then Lipinski gets him and Dunkley wraps him up.
Maynard, perhaps. Just trying to... So they're certainly trying to get Dacos forward, lateral to this ball.
So boundary throw in. Rather, it's a ball up. Inside 50 here for the Pies, but it's Bailey that gets it over to Lyons. Awkward-looking kick. Danaher just handballs into space. Rayner falls over. It allows Noble to come into the contest. Handballs to side bottom. Handballs to Adams. He's still too far out to score, so he pokes it into the pocket, and on the end of a long lead is Elliott, marking in front of Wilmot. Now he'll need to kick it from 45 on a tightish angle, just a couple of metres in from the boundary on that right forward pocket.
Wouldn't you like me on the end of Danaher's hand pass? I mean, you'd have to be a grub, wouldn't you? I mean, the ball went straight to ground. Let's just give it straight back.
Jamie Elliott. He's kicked 2 already tonight. The margin is 30 points. He's usually a sharpshooter. And this time, he's missing to the near side, a little off. But he usually does his best work, Ben Cameron, when it's late in the game and the game's on the line.
The Brisbane Lions obviously gave up that late lead against Melbourne, and they gave up that huge lead against the Crows last week. They're able to hold on, but it does look like they're making sure they close this one out. Don't give Collingwood any hope. They're chipping it around inside their defensive 50 here and putting themselves under pressure. McKenna has to try and get away from Cox. Now into a dead end. Little handball to himself. Kevin Bartlett style. He'll run onto it and it will all work out as he plays a little bit of ad-lib footy and it goes out of bounds on the city wing.
They would just prey on that sort of stuff. Yeah. Absolutely sweat on you to make a mistake. And there was 2 mistakes. They were lucky to recover either one of them.
They want you to go backwards and they want you to overuse the footy.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what Brisbane just did. Overused it and went backwards.
Throw in on the wing. Darcy Cameron bringing it down. He's tackled quickly. Also, for Collingwood fans, you probably won't like this, but last 6 years, the eventual Premier has lost no more than 2 games from round 17 onwards. This will be Collingwood's 3rd loss from that point onwards. Free kick out of the subsequent ball up.
It shows how hard it is to be the number 1 team, the best team in it pretty much from round 1 and stay there and hold it for the entire year. Yeah, now, I reckon once they get their players back, they can go again. Don't worry about them, but so hard to stay up.
That's a good mark.
Lions working it to half forward. Rayner able to take the mark. And the mark set right on the arc of 50.
That's a really strong mark. This is what we're talking about, Lingy. Just a bloke like Rayner, okay, he's kicked a couple of goals, but he's got to get, up to 20-odd possessions and good possessions.
So Cam Rayner, he'll try and stab it inside 50 and spot up Kitty Coleman, 49 metres out on an improved angle, basically directly in front.
We know he can kick a ball beautifully.
Don't know how long he can kick it though.
No, but take his time. Just keep winding the clock down. Take every second you can. He'll get the little run around late if he wants to. I reckon he's got the distance from here.
Only 1 goal in his 18 games this year. Kadeem Coleman lives up to the Coleman name. Kicks the goal from long range and puts a cherry on top for the Lions. 19-9-123, plays 13-10-88. They're out by 35 points, 24 minutes into the 4th.
Well, they've just done it beautifully, Brisbane, in what's been a really good quality game of footy from both teams, but ultimately Brisbane was still able to keep attacking, keep that intensity through the middle of the ground, Mick.
Yep.
Keep that strength around the contest and their clearance work. Collingwood got theirs going a little bit in the 3rd quarter, but Brisbane just had more options to keep throwing in there, whereas Collingwood got a touch thin with the players that are the missing, trying to rely on Scotty Pendlebury still to drive them forward and Josh Dacos, and just finding that other couple of midfielders to have really big games.
Just didn't have it, did they? No. Yep. I wonder with McCready, they put McCready in the centre a couple of weeks ago. Just wonder whether they would try it again, just because that speed he's got.
Brisbane by 35 points. Dunkley, the up and under, bounces off Berry's chest, and now it bounces the way of Pendlebury, who's been brilliant tonight, winding back the clock to the top of the goal square. Elliott couldn't take the mark, hits the deck quickly, spins around the snap. Boy, he is class. Elliott doesn't give up. He's got his 3rd. And the margin is 29 points. Time's going to beat them, though. Collingwood 14-10-94. Brisbane 19-9, 123, just under 4 minutes to play.
Yeah, he's leading goal kick again today. He is deadly, both aerial and on the ground. He's such a smart player, Jamie Elliott. He doesn't need a lot of possession to be a good player.
I know we often talk about scoring in footy and worry about some of the defensive stuff and all that. When you get good teams who play the right way, teams can still score. It's 123-94 and a good quality game. I know occasionally we've questioned a couple of little defensive efforts, but both watching good teams play good football is just still outstanding to watch.
In the middle, Cox able to hook it down, but straight onto it, Berry for the Lions. Handball back to Jared Lyons, who spirals a kick. And Danaher comes up and marks 51 metres out.
And does the right thing. Just goes back, whether he's going to eventually, I mean, he's got the distance from here, but have a set shot or not, just take the 30 seconds. There's no point. That's a big run up.
He's actually gone back to kick it in from the full back line. That's one uncanny steps.
Virtually on the centre line.
Is there a countdown clock at this ground? I can't see one anywhere.
The boys know where it is because they always look at them.
Amble's in onto that long left leg. A massive roost from Joe. He hooks it.
I got 26 steps on the approach.
26 steps. And that wouldn't be normal, let me tell you. He's just used... Because once you start going forward, the umpires can't stop you. So you're 30... Is that
Howe on the kick in, yes. Charlie Cameron closing in on him. It was a little nervous, but he got the kick away. And now Josh Sakos, ducks, weaves, zigs, zags, delivers to Elliott, who marks at half forward in a one-on-one contest against Starcevic. And his head has hit the turf with almighty force. Well, I mean, they can rest players next week, really, Collingwood.
Well, they might have to be forced to rest a couple of them. Well, I'll tell you what.
Elliott's a little groggy as he gets up. He's clutching at the back of his head. That would have hurt.
Oh, yeah, and hit it quick and hard.
Like a whiplash motion.
Whiplash, yep.
So he's kicked wide to Mitchell. Mitchell hasn't got the distance in him. Danaher marking defensively in front.
Now, I'll talk about my article. Have the way Elliott's running back. I'm not one suggesting for one moment that he does not want to miss next week, so he's gone... look at me, I'm clear as a bell. But doctors look at that, they go, no, there's no way knowing you can be clear as a bell.
And the doctors down on the bench are looking at that vision right now. I think they've got to see that vision and think, we need to check him out. Only 2 minutes to go, but it's still important.
So if it's a prelim, there's so much pressure on a doctor there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially when it's not an independent doctor, as McStay thumps it away from the dockside wing, and it'll be a boundary throw-in.
Well, that's what I say, Kel. You've got to get the best players up to play. We're already going to have a few missing next week. I know that both these sides are set 1 and 2 in the ladder.
Yep, just about done. Let's give it a 1 minute 53 and then we can declare it, Mick, with 1 round to go. And it's going to be St Kilda for the Brisbane Lions up at the Gabba. And Collingwood's last game.
Essendon.
That's right. How can I forget the Bombers? Lockie Neal delivering to Hipwood, marking right in front of his eyes.
That's brilliant one there. Take that ball under pressure, get chased down and still get the ball away to his team.
Possession number 31 for Lockie.
Hipwood looks into the pocket, trying to wait a kick. He overshoots the target over the head of Berry. And the Pies back with it. Pies score conceded under Craig McRae. Brisbane up to 124. They lead by 30 points. Short kick from McStay to Mitchell. Long kick to the wing for the Pies, trying to rove at Ginnivan. Now the Lions arrive in numbers and it's held in, a ball up.
So you can understand why Collingwood don't want Mitchell kicking the ball a lot. It's a 45-metre kick. It goes up 45 metres. Nothing. I mean, he gets the football. He's fantastic, but his kicking just doesn't penetrate.
McInerney taps it down. Coming through Berry. Bailey, a fresh area on his kick. Spills out to side bottom. Tumbles a kick to half forward. Elliott launches. Can't mark. Pinballs away. Now onto it, Mitchell. Handball to Ginnivan. His handball nearly chopped off. It gets to Mitchell. Away to Pendlebury on the burst. He's still full of class this late in the game. He's had himself a night. Scotty Pendlebury nearly turned the game in the third quarter.
30 disposals and a goal.
Collingwood crossed the 100. It is Brisbane 19-10, 124. Collingwood 15-10, 100. Lions by 24.
And he's had Mick 12 clearances, the 2 contested possessions, 6 tackles, 4 marks to go with that.
Well, he got them back in the game in that third quarter. He was brilliant out of the centre. They've had 10 goal kickers, Collingwood. They'll be happy with the way that this has all been shared because they've rarely said, well, look, we've all got to get one player's got to kick all the goals. So today to have 10 goal kickers A couple of midfielders kicked goals.
Yeah, they're missing Bobby Hill, Ash Johnson, Nick Dacos, who were goal kickers on their goal kicking list, 3rd, 4th and 5th behind Myercheck and Elliott. So they needed them. Brisbane by 24 points. Cameron, Crisp, Mitchell, Pendlebury on the left. Possession number 31. Elliott almost. McCreery in the pocket. What can he do? Outside of the boot. Almost got it to McStay. Now there's a scramble at the top of the goal square. Myercheck juggles it. Ginnivan tries to charge through. He's tackled to the turf. And it'll be a ball up right at the top of the goal square. A lot of the black and white army Collingwood fans making their way out of their seats, up the aisles. As McInerney tries to win it, Myercheck barges his way through. He's only a metre or two from the edge of the goal square. It'll be another ball up. McInerney picked off by Mitchell. Ginnivan, seconds ticking down. He hits up Hoskin Elliott, who wheels around on his right. And for the second time in the season, the Lions beat the so-called unbeatable Pies. Brisbane looks set to secure a top 2 finish with the Saints at the Gabba to come.
We are the pride of Brisbane town. We wear the roll, blue and gold. We will always fight for victory, like Fitzroy and Bears of old. All for one and one for all. We will answer to the call. Go Lions, Brisbane Lions, we'll kick the winning score. You'll hear a mighty roar.
So Chris Fagan's men will secure the double chance and the all-important home qualifying final. It's all theirs for 2023 after they were able to do it in 2019 and 2020. In the end, the final score, Brisbane by 24, 19-10, 174. Collingwood, 15-10, 100 in front of a crowd of 39,350.
We will answer to the call. Go Lions, Brisbane Lions, we'll kick the winning score. You'll hear a mighty roar. You'll hear a mighty
Margin 24 points in the end to Brisbane. And Charlie Cameron booted 4 goals straight, 3 to Hipwood, 2 to Rayner, Bailey, Danaher and Archie for the Pies. It was 3 for Jamie Elliott, 2 each to McStay, Howe and Myercheck. Cameron Ling, Mick Moldhouse. It lived up to the billing until that final term when the Lions were able to run away with it. Collingwood looking a little tired and undermanned.
Yeah, they did, didn't they, Cal? Collingwood, because they were very good for most of the game, and through Pendlebury's class and just the quality of the team, they got going in that third quarter. But obviously Brisbane almost a little bit as expected. It's always hard to say that when they're playing against Collingwood. Just with that few extra options through the middle of the ground, their forward line was clicking, and given the outs of Collingwood, the Brisbane Lions were able to just be a little bit stronger and hold that intensity. I Lachie Neale was superb for the Lions around the clearances. I thought Oscar McInerney really got them going. Darcy Cameron tried to fight it out as best he possibly could. The forward line function, Mick, Charlie Cameron was good. Joe Danaher was good. Eric Hipwood after half-time got going. Yep. Lincoln McCarthy, unfortunately, until he hurt his calf, was dangerous. Cam Rayner was good at times. And then Kadeen Coleman down back was excellent for the Brisbane Lions. Provided a bit of drive, won a few crucial balls, but they had the depth and the quality right across the ground, the Brisbane Lions. In what was... It almost felt make or break for their premiership chances.
Yeah, you're right.
They win tonight, and let's just assume, maybe that's getting ahead of ourselves, but they do win next week at the Gabba against the Saints, given their record at the Gabba, and they lock away a top 2 finish, and that allows them an opportunity, if all things go to plan, a qualifying final and potentially a preliminary final at home. that gets them a very good passage to the grand final as opposed to having to go on the road if they'd lost this one tonight. So it was a huge win. They had more to play for. Collingwood are virtually a lock for top two. I think Port Adelaide would have to make up around about 12% from here,
not this time.
which is probably not going to happen. And Collingwood will get the top two. Brisbane should get the top two. And wow, sets up this possibly is a little preview to what we see in that last Saturday in September.
Well, all they need to do now, Brisbane, and this is much easier said than done, is win their next 3 games at the Gabba, and they'll be coming back to Melbourne for the last Saturday in September to play for all of the marbles against whomever. They rarely lose at the Gabba. That being said, they have finished second and had home finals before and fluffed their lines late in the season.
Yeah. As hard as it is to try to get a gauge on sides as the year goes on, because you ebb and flow all the way through, to hold up like Collingwood have for so long has been extremely good. But you've got to look at also the last... I've asked this question, and I picked Collingwood early in the season, and I still think that they're the side to beat. But one question keeps reappearing. You've said it, they've won 5 from 9 trailing at three-quarter time. That's 9 games. That's 9 games at three-quarter time that they actually trailed out of 22 games. This is 22 games. So there's something says what happens and why are they trailing at three-quarter time? And then further, I thought that the rates would have been a lot higher than 5 out of 9. I thought it would have been 7 or 8 out of 9. But it's 5 out of 9. So the other 4, nothing took place. They couldn't get back in it. Of latter date, most of those wins coming from behind were early in the season. There's a lot of things that some are up. Like Penbury today was very, very good.
Yep.
But I'm looking at Steele Cyber. I love Steele Cyber, but his penetration's not there. His 20-plus possessions is not there. Their forward line is functional because you've got 10 goal kickers, but down the other end, the opposition had 29 shots on goal.
Yeah.
Now, this is a side that prides itself on defence. That's 29. That's 29 shots on goal. It's got to come from somewhere.
That's the last 3 games. I think Collingwood have conceded 100 points.
Yeah, and they've lost 3 of their last 4. So they'll be the big talking point out of this. They've lost to Carlton, Hawthorn, and now tonight, 3 of the last 4. It isn't it come. We'll talk about them very shortly, but first of all, we've got to give congratulations to the Brisbane Lions. They've won 3 in a row now.
Absolutely.
So by 3 points over Fremantle, over in Perth. 6 points against the Crows, who were very good last week. And then tonight, let's hand over to Tim Hodges as the Brisbane Lions players enter the change rooms downstairs.
Kel, it's a great crowd in here for the Lions. Lots of family, lots of friends. This meant plenty for Brisbane. What it does mean is that every spot in that top 4 goes down to round 24 next week. So Jared Berry, the last of the Lions in, and they'll sing the song. I'll send it back to you guys. We'll have Lions co-captain Harris Andrews for you in just a minute or so, guys.
Thanks, Hodgie. Tim Hodges downstairs in the victorious Brisbane Lions room. Did you learn anything new about Brisbane here tonight? Did you garner any belief that they're any more likely to win the lot? There's a couple of mouth breathers who have run out on the ground and the security guards are tracking after them. They've caught one of them and a couple have escaped. So they've got one of them, but 2 have evaded the security guards, which is the hoopla you can hear going on at the moment. Did you learn anything new or garner any more belief in Brisbane with what you saw tonight?
I say this just with a tiny bit of hesitation because I know it was a slightly undermanned Collingwood team. But yes, I had reinforced what I believed coming into the game, Ben, that it was a better Brisbane team than last year and a better placed Brisbane team than last year. I just think their midfield is that bit deeper, despite losing Will Ashcroft, who I thought has been superb throughout this season in his first season. Josh Dunkley's influence in there. Again, it wasn't a Josh Dunkley game where he had 35 touches and 10 clearances, but he's still, everything he does in those contests supports what Lachie Neale does and Hugh McCluggage does, and just allowed them to have a greater sustained intensity through the middle of the ground. I reckon they've added that element, and that forward line clicked beautifully. It was a really impressive performance by the Brisbane Lions tonight.
Let's get back into their rooms. The co-captain is with Tim Hodges.
He is, Ben. Thanks, Harris, for joining us on ABC. This was just a non-negotiable. You had to come down and beat the Pies in Melbourne on Friday night, and you did just that. You must be relieved, but really satisfied as well.
Yeah, it was a great result tonight, obviously. We really wanted to set ourselves against a really quality team, Collingwood. They've been the best team all year, and we certainly didn't want to fall into the trap of, them having a couple of players out. So, we came down with a real good intent. We felt like we went in with a great plan, and, fortunately we were able to execute, which was great.
What confidence do you take from beating them twice this year, and then with what's ahead next week, beat St Kilda at home, and if results go your way, you can be the minor premier?
It gives us good confidence, I guess. As I said, we just want to be playing our best footy at the right time, and we've had a couple of lean wins over the last couple of weeks where we've learnt some really good lessons and been able to get results as well, which has been fantastic. And if we can just keep playing the way we want to play, I think it's really clear everyone in the team has clear understanding about what's required from them on game day, and we're looking to keep building that.
It's awesome to have the co-captain. I'll send you upstairs to our leaders, Mick Malthouse and Cameron Ling.
Harris, congratulations on the win. Terrific game. Really, really impressive. You score 124 points, so clearly there's a great connection between the midfielders and the running defenders and getting the ball inside forward 50. What was the plan around that? How did you feel going into the game you were going to be able to expose some Collingwood defence and get the ball up there in a dangerous spot?
We absolutely respect Collingwood and their pressure around the ball. They really try and force you into a bit of a handball game, and they're really quick when they get the turnover. So, we came in with a plan, I guess, to try and just, nullify that pressure and get the ball going forward. And, fortunately, some of our targets up forward were able to get on top. And, we feel like if we can get the supply in there to those blokes, guys like Joe Danaher and Eric Hipwood and, our group of smalls up there, they really put the heat on, and we can play the way we want to play. So, it's been really exciting, and it's a great win for the boys.
Third quarter, Harris, they got rolling a little bit. They kicked 6 goals in that third term, albeit you guys also nailed 5 yourself. But they were getting a little bit more dangerous. That flow was starting to happen. Scotty Pendlebury was having an influence. What did you need to just fix up a little bit at three-quarter time to then have the last quarter that you had, which you just ran away with the game?
Yeah, I think in that third quarter they were able to really get some ascendancy around the ball. I'm sure, not exactly sure what the numbers were at centre bounce and contested ball and that, but it feels like they probably got on top of that, and then they started getting the ball out into open spaces. And they're such a dangerous team when they do that. They've got so many good kicks going inside 50, and they're really dangerous with their legs. And we were able to arrest that momentum in the last quarter. I thought it was a really great effort we've seen this year. Collingwood be able to sort of run over teams, and we sort of talked about at three-quarter time. If we, before the game, we went in and said, we could be 12 points up at three-quarter time, we probably would have taken it even after that third quarter. So, it was good. I guess a little bit of mental strength there from the boys, showed a bit of resilience when they came in that third quarter, and, able to come away with a result on the road. We'll take any win on the road. We love getting away as a group and winning, which is nice.
Harris, just on your back line there, who chooses who picks who up? There's a couple of times when Mychek was coming a long way up the ground. Do you drop off there and pick up the deepest, or is that sort of preordained before the game who is generally going to be your opponent?
I think, to be honest with you, it's pretty flexible. Something that we really wanted to work on, particularly over the summer, is that flexibility. And, we've all got strengths individually as players that we feel like complement each other. And we've got a really good group down there that can play together. And, we don't have any sort of strict 1v1 matchups. We look to support each other in the air and at ground level, and there's no real sort of strict matchups. Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't, but it's just that flexibility which is really important.
Do you find that it's, at times, I've watched a lot of football this year, and in particular Brisbane, do you find at times it can be frustrating though if you have someone and all of a sudden there's a bit of a swap over and you haven't been able to get to a player. Like for instance, today, I thought Ginnivan played a very interesting part there. At one stage, he dragged you away. You couldn't get back. You didn't want to leave him because you knew that if you did leave him, they'd kick the ball to him.
Yep.
Couldn't get back. And Elliott takes the mark.
Yep.
So who takes over the control of that? Because you're in a position where you can't control that because you've done the right thing. You've picked up Ginnivan so he can't be used. But is there who's your deputy back there that goes, right, clearly Elliott's a marking player. We've got to make sure we've got coverage here.
Yeah, I think, as we said pre-game, they're really dangerous inside 50 and, when they move the ball quickly, there are those handovers to cover for each other and we find if we just follow one bloke around for the whole game, then they dictate to us about our positioning and how far away from the ball we are and what we can impact in the contest. So, there's moments where I'll be, probably playing a little out of my weight division on Jack Ginnivan, but I've got full trust in the guys behind me to get the job done. And unfortunately, in that situation, we weren't able to.
Yeah.
But I've got no doubt there'd be plenty of examples across the night.
Oh, sure.
We've been able to cover each other up.
Yeah. No, I know. I thought the kid played a pretty good role in doing that, which dragged away a great strength of yourself. Look, I know this has been the elephant in the room, if you like. You may well now probably avoid this until. For your sake, I hope it is until the grand final. You play your home games, particularly on the win like tonight. But why do you, as a club, why do you think that you come to the MCG and it just doesn't work out? Is there something there that you guys talk about yourselves, or does Chris Fagan talk about it?
I think, to be honest with you, we've had how many games at the G this year? We've played Melbourne. Played the Hawks. We turned up against the Hawks with a really bad attitude and weren't able to get the job done.
That's just, I need to know, bad attitude. How does that come about?
Oh, we just didn't turn up in the right mindset, and they came out hot and ready to go, and it's a long season, and sometimes teams get on top of you, and we did some really good reflecting from that. We could have played at the Gabba that day, and I've got no doubt we probably would have got done the way we did. There's certainly no fears within our group playing at the MCG.
Okay.
We're really excited about the opportunity of playing there in the future. We got some really good, good footage and stuff and effort on the MCG against the D's in patches, and then we let ourselves down in that last sort of 10-15 minutes where they were able to come over the top of us. But we showed through that middle of the game where we were able to play our way, and certainly. I can tell you, amongst the boys, we're chomping at the bit to play at the G again. To be honest.
Yeah. Well, let me say, there's no sin in losing to Hawthorn. I watched them the last couple of weeks, and they've been actually. They're an underestimated team. Anyway, all the very best. I know that Ben's got a question for you, but all the best for the rest of the year, mate.
Thanks very much.
Just the two at the G this year, so the loss to Melbourne and the loss to Hawthorn. The Devon Robertson situation with his jumper, shirts versus skins. Have you ever seen anything like it? Where were you on the ground? What was going on out there?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, he was running around for a long time without that kit on. He was pretty flat. I reckon he put in a lot of work over the summer looking after those beach weights. And then, over the last couple of weeks in the season, sore bodies, that sort of thing, you start to fade away from that. And I reckon he's going to be a little bit flat about that. But, it was good value seeing him run around with his shirt off. I've got no doubt he's the type of character to really enjoy it.
Oh, Kelly loved it. Kelly loved it.
No, I loved it because Cameron Ling said if that was me, I would have run off straight away.
Yeah. I told him, I said to Dev, mate, you're going to have to get off and get a jersey. And he sort of just pushed me away and said, no, mate, I'm all good out here.
I wish I could be that flat looking like that.
I'll tell you this, Harrison, maybe you can go pass this on to Dev in the rooms. He's gained 5,000 followers on Instagram tonight.
He'd be pretty happy with that
as a result of it.
Yeah, he'd be happy with that, I reckon.
All right. Appreciate your time. Best of luck for the remainder of the year. 3 more wins at the Gabba, and you're in the big dance. So thanks for your time.
Thanks, guys. We'll just worry about next week.
Good on you.
It was incredible, wasn't it? 5,000 new followers.
Is that a fact?
Yeah,
I thought you were plucking that one out just for a bit of fun.
He's a stats man, mate.
Wow.
No, he would be plucking that out.
People know to go straight. I'm big on Instagram. I'm not a big deal on Instagram.
Yeah,
but I
sorry,
spend
did you
a lot
just
of
say,
time on Instagram.
Did you just say I'm big on Instagram?
I meant I spend a lot of time on Instagram. But very interesting. A lot of followers out of a moment like that. I love the moment where he threw it away in disgust.
Yeah.
Let's change tack to Collingwood. So 3 consecutive games, conceded over 100 points. They've got a higher score conceded under Craig McRae. They've got no Geordie DeGoey, who's got a glute strain. Darcy Moore's nicked his hammy, or got hammy tightness. And Josh Dacos, boy wonder.
Nick Dacos.
Nick Dacos, boy wonder, has a little crack in his knee. Are they wobbling?
Yeah.
If you lose games, you
are.
are.
Yeah, absolutely. No, let's not shy away from that. I still have got them as the team to beat, very much so. But you're right. Yeah, this is just proof that what Collingwood is going through right now, how difficult it is to win one premiership, let alone create a dynasty or anything like that. One premiership is so hard. You need everything to go right. You need health to go right. You need form. You need buy-in. You need all these different things. So right now, they are facing a final series where they're not in good form and their list and key players in that list are not particularly healthy.